Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m. Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
With my children at a young age and get more involved in their schools. And later than that, one of my things I'd like to do more of, I wish I had called my mother more, especially towards the end of her life. I didn't call her as much as I wish I had, and now I know the other side of that, you know, how you long to hear from your children. And her life was very full, but I wish I had talked to her more.
Author and conference speaker Dee Breston shares,
I think that I would teach my children more memory work, and I would have taught them things like the shorter Westminster Catechism to memorize. I read a lot to them, but I would read more to them. And definitely, if I had understood about idols of the heart, I think I would have overcome some of my besetting sins sooner. And when I'm speaking, I would have spoken less about myself and more about Christ so that their hearts would melt and their lives would be transformed.
The co-founder of Awana Bible Clubs, Art Rorheim, admitted,
I'd like to be a better witness than I was, and I think of the many opportunities that I blew that I could have taken advantage of, but God in His mercy has spared me. So once I look back, yes, I think my witnessing could have been better to spend more time one-on-one.
This has been a production of Moody Radio, a ministry of Moody Bible Institute, based on the book, If I Could Do It All Over Again.
Could you use monthly payments to help meet basic needs, like putting food on the table, paying the rent, or buying new shoes for growing feet? Find out about supplemental security income. You may qualify if your income and financial resources are low and you're 65 or older, or an adult or child with a disability or who is blind. Call 1-800-772-1213 or go to ssa.gov/SSI. Produced by Social Security at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Moody Radio Cleveland, broadcasting since 1958. WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
I just wanted to say thank you for being here.
The Israeli military is telling civilians to evacuate the city of Rafah in Gaza. It's 6 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. This comes ahead of a potential ground assault on the Gaza Strip's southernmost city. Over 1.4 million civilians are said to be sheltering there. Medina City Schools reports a staffer at Northrop Elementary has resigned their position following a Friday incident in which they were accused of showing up to work while under the influence. The employee, who the district says was not a teacher and had no contact with students on the day in question, was placed on administrative leave prior to quitting. And an investigation is underway after a loaded gun was found in the backpack of an Akron public school student. The gun was found by the principal of Garfield Community Learning Center during routine checks on Monday morning. I'll have sports and weather in just a moment.
They may be far away, but they should be close to our hearts. The unreached, those who have no access to the gospel in a day when all should hear the good news. Join us for a Moody Radio special that will open your eyes to the greatest challenge we face as believers. Until All Hear, featuring stories, guests, and music that will bring this daunting challenge to life.
Tune in Saturday, March 11th from 4 to 6 p.m.
In sports, the Guardians edged the Tigers 2-1. The Pirates clipped the Angels 4-1. And the Cavaliers will open their Eastern Conference semifinal series against the Celtics tonight. Go Cavs. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Partly sunny today. There's a chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Highs in the upper 70s. Currently, we are looking at cloudy skies in Cleveland, 59 degrees. It's cloudy and 55 in Akron and Canton, but in Ashtabula, they're reporting clear skies and 48 degrees.
It's time for your moron moment.
Have you ever seen something advertised as chocolatey? The term chocolatey on products often signals that it does not meet the standards to be labeled as true chocolate. This phrase cleverly implies a chocolate-like flavor without enough real chocolate content. Food labeling laws dictate when a product can be called chocolate, and chocolatey gets used when the cocoa content falls short. It's a marketing workaround offering a chocolate-like experience while skirting the stricter standards of chocolate labeling. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 6:03 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine Studio. It's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Do you ever wonder why success can feel empty? Why is more money still never enough? Or why relationships can be so hard? Try something different today. On your way to work, turn on your radio and join our conversations about life's deeper questions. And don't worry, we drop the pretense and don't take ourselves too seriously. But like you, we're looking for transformation in life.
When you allow someone to fully know you and still love you.
Join us for Mornings with Brian, weekdays starting at 6 a.m. on 103.3 FM.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, 6:06. Life is now complete because Daria is back. We missed you.
Oh, I missed you guys too.
You were hanging out with your Florida friends.
I was. We had a really good time.
Did you make any headlines like young Florida woman?
No, sat on the beach. Didn't do a whole lot else.
Well, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it does.
It was. It was too cold to get in the water. We just kind of went into our toes. But it was really nice. Florida's warm, and I came home and I was shivering just a little bit because I'm like, what happened?
Well, Ron is dying to know any highlights of getting to spend an extra couple of days traveling with me. Go ahead.
Well, I did not sit on the plane going down next to Lauren and Brian, and I am thankful for that. Sorry, Lauren.
I'm not. I think it would have been more fun to have you there. Lauren's pretty boring on an airplane, so.
Oh, so am I.
Here's my impersonation of Brian on an airplane.
Mom!
Yes.
Mom! Mommy!
That's not
Mommy!
inaccurate. I mean,
Mama!
Lauren was basically mom the
Mama!
entire trip. Like, I joked. Is that ever going to stop?
No. That's Huey or something. What is his name?
I think it's Stewie from Family Guy. Oh, my gosh.
Huey, what do I know?
Okay, we can
It's
stop
like
him
Brian,
now.
it just keeps going.
Mama!
Okay.
So I was joking as we were leaving, like, you're going to be mom for this trip, right? And then she just kept doing things. I think my favorite was, in one of the meetings we were in, they had put like a little small pile of candy in front of us. And Brian opened one and realized it was dark chocolate. And he's like, I don't want this one. So Lauren grabs another piece, the milk chocolate variety, gives it to him and eats the dark chocolate herself.
Yeah, well, somebody had to do it.
Yeah, you had already opened it, so.
You were
Yeah,
totally
she was
mommy.
she was mom. She was keeping everybody on task, making sure he was paying attention, taking his food he didn't want.
Not crunching his chips.
Yeah. He was crunching his chips during a meeting, and she leaned over and was like, would you stop that?
We were in meetings all day. When was I supposed to eat my chips?
At the designated times.
When's that?
Eat them quieter.
Yeah,
These two.
When the VP is up there, go ahead and eat, but not during emotional times.
Yeah.
Well, it felt quiet inside my head. Actually, it didn't. Crunching chips in your head is always really loud.
Yeah.
But I thought I was doing it extra quiet until you were like, what did you say
I
again?
said, now's not the time, Brian.
But you said it much more intense than that.
Yeah.
And you did not have a smile on your face.
Yes.
I was a little embarrassed, and I was like, well, she's probably right. It's probably a better time than this. Although the highlight Ron is not aware of, I saved it for today just to verify, because these two lovely women, very smart, very discerning, witnessed it.
I did.
Now, I've got all the feels about the fact that I'm 45. It's a lot for me. When 10 years ago, it sounded like forever away, and here I am.
Yeah.
And
pretty soon it'll be in your rearview mirror.
I know, Ron. And so we encountered two people in person for the very first time. One of them is a radio coach, very smart guy. He coaches radio talent all around the country.
He's seen us on video before.
Yeah, and he's in his 50s, 60s, something around there. And then there was another young man, like in his early 30s.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Never seen us in person. The three of us sitting together, those two guys standing in front of us, and somehow it came up. Oh, no, they said how young I look. That's what they said. Oh, no, they said we all look young, actually.
Yes. Our radio coach said, I was shocked to see you because you guys look so much younger in person than on video.
And so I said, wait, be quiet now, please, colleagues. How old do you think I am? How old do I look? And they'll play this game because men can play this game.
Mm-hmm.
You want to guess, Ron? Go ahead.
I'm guessing he said 30.
Too high.
Wow. The
that's
Indian
exactly right,
girls said 26. He said that too?
26. They said 26. I said 45, and they just about had heart attacks. I thought I was going to call 911.
They really did. They were both very shocked.
Okay, when you first got your beard shaved, everyone's like, you look like you're, 30, or some people went as far as 12, and you were freaking out. But when these other people are doing it, our colleagues, you're like, well, yes, thank you.
Well, yeah, there's a very distinct reason. I kept hearing 14 when my beard was shaved. Okay. I don't want to be 14. 14's miserable. I want to be an adult.
They're
14
saying
is
you are
miserable.
14. They're saying you look really young. But these other guys are coming in like the 20s are not great either. And then people are like, you look like you're in your 20s. And
You're just mad that I look your age.
14 is hyperbole.
well, he thought I was like 20. So
Well, no, I mean, it's like you find out someone looks young and then you're like, oh, 45. Wow. They're like, boy, look at you. How do you do it? What's your skincare regimen?
Retinol.
Retinol. Should I know?
You could use it.
I don't know what that is. I should know.
It's a cream
It's
that you
gone.
put on,
I don't
puffs
need
your
that.
face.
I just wash my face
That's good. That'll help.
and avoid sunscreen apparently whenever possible.
Avoid
That's the opposite.
I know, but that's I go outside when it's cloudy and then it gets sunny and I don't want to go back inside.
I have nothing to say about it.
Clearly not. But Ron, 26, we've all decided.
Okay.
I have not decided.
Any other comments, Daria? Any thoughts? It was fun.
it was fun. I'm tired, though. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, there's something, it's maddening, but when you sit in meetings all day and you get tired, you get mad that you're tired
Yeah.
because you were sitting all day.
Because I'm not doing anything. My brain's doing stuff.
And that is tiring.
Mhm.
People don't believe it. And that, we'll go home and our spouses will be like, "What are you so tired for? You just talked." Is that what we did? Why don't you sit down and try it?
True.
Huh? Okay.
I did something yesterday that
What?
going to surprise you.
You went for a run.
No, not quite that surprising.
Okay, what'd you do?
I went in the pool.
Oh, you did it. You set up your pool.
Yeah.
Way to
I've
go.
been working on it all last weekend, getting the covers off and
chemicals.
Yeah, I had to go in and sweep the floor of the pool because it had leaves that had accumulated. So,
Was it so cold?
yeah, I've got a heater, so the upper layer was warm, but nobody had been in to stir it up yet. So it was, gradually much colder as you went down. So it took about 3 attempts to get all the way in. You get a few steps and then you're like, oh, I'll wait on this and then go back in.
You almost have to cannonball in just to get it over with, but
yeah,
be
but I'm
weird by
not sure
yourself.
my heart could take that shock.
But summer's officially here when Ron's pool is open.
Yeah, the grandkids have been bugging me about it, so I thought, well, might as well start early.
Just don't flood your yard this time.
Yes.
Yeah, no naps on the deck while the pool's filling.
Pool's filling and overflowing.
All right, Daria didn't hear about this, but we got another ticket giveaway going this week.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, we're givers. Yeah. So here's what's going on. Our friend, who I'm talking to later today, Max McLean, he's a famous actor. He's done a whole bunch of plays and such. I've listened to him read the Bible to me. He does a whole bunch of those Bible recordings in various translations. He's going to be here for a play called C.S. Lewis on Stage, Further Up and Further In. It's at Playhouse Square on Saturday. It's a whole theatrical multimedia thing that brings together a whole bunch of ideas, like what convinced C.S. Lewis about the divinity of Christ? Why did the BBC give him such a big audience to deliver speeches, which would become mere Christianity?
Yes.
How was Hitler an influence for the writing of screw tape letters? All those things could be yours. We have 5 pairs of tickets. Daria's like, that's too generous.
It's very generous.
I know.
Look at you guys and our partners.
We are generous. I just showed up. Lauren figured this all out. Lauren is so generous.
Our friends at Playhouse Square are generous.
They're so generous. Text the word play to 440-546-2255. Text play to 440-546-2255. We'll send you back a link. You can register for your chance to win. So do pets really help people prepare to have a baby?
Wow.
Do they? We'll talk about it because a woman wrote in the Akron Beacon Journal. Her name is Teresa, and she has an answer to whether pets really do help you prepare to have a baby.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten.
Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free. Trinity.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838. That's 1-800-659-9838.
Did you know the average person walks nearly 2,000 miles a year? Now think about the millions of children around the world who risk disease and miss out on opportunities simply because they walk those 2,000 miles without a decent pair of shoes. For the past 25 years, Buckner Shoes for Orphan Souls has provided more than 5 million pairs of shoes to kids in some of the most vulnerable communities in the world. That's over 5 million opportunities to put a smile on the face of a child and show God's love to boys and girls living in desperate situations. Many times, those shoes introduce families to Christ-centered programs, helping them rise above poverty and achieve their God-given potential. I'm Rob West, inviting you to provide shoes and share the love of Christ with children around the world and here in the United States. Find out how you can make an impact at GiveShoesToday.org. That's GiveShoesToday.org.
Brian's third grade teacher left us a voicemail.
Please record your message.
I always thought that Brian would be a circus performer or a radio host. At least I got one right.
It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
At Mornings with Brian, we discuss life's deeper questions without taking ourselves too seriously. Tune in for honest conversations intended to inspire lasting change. Start your mornings with Brian, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on 103.3 FM.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Cutlass. Didn't it seem like I should say it like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Cutlass. Strong tower. WCRF at 622. The team's back together. Yay. And the live stream's up.
The boys are back in town.
It is. When I leave town, I can't do the live stream, but it's back.
Yeah, we were candid. I said we're too dumb to do that when Daria's not here. So,
But yeah, here we are. We're back. Whee! So good to text live to 440-546-2255. 440-546-2255. A lot of spicy stuff Daria missed yesterday that we'll have to bring back up on Friday.
I caught wind of a little bit of it.
Yeah, I was, I'm ready to throw it down a little bit on Friday, the more I think about some things. But Lauren even sent me, we were talking about, there's this whole Mother's Day bit going around. Women are fighting about Mother's Day. When has that ever happened? It's usually rolling their eyes at men failing at Mother's Day, you know?
They're a united front against the men.
She sent me a bunch of these TikToks about young women and young moms, older moms. Whoa! They are mad at each other. Debating who's in the trench.
Yeah, I can imagine some of the older moms are saying, well, you don't hold a party. Well, you hold a party for somebody at work who's celebrating 40 years at work, not the guy who just, congratulations, you just completed a year.
No, I mean, Ron, literally, I heard one rant from a mom that she was going on and on to grandma about regular grandma things. Like, who calls you and checks in with you, who buys you a Starbucks when you're down, who watches the kids in an emergency, and then declared ultimately, that's the trench. That's where I am.
I think Lauren, who has a almost 4-year-old and a 7-month-old, might like a moment for rebuttal.
Yeah, it was just like, no, you're not. This is objective. You're not. You're not. You're retired. There's a dramatic difference.
Yeah.
But hopping on the phone and I love my grandma. My grandma's a wonderful presence in my life. Hopping on the phone and buying Starbucks is not the same.
Yeah.
I'm sure as tending to literal children that are completely dependent on you.
Yeah.
I had a child throw up in my mouth last week.
Oh, Lauren.
Ooh, wow.
What? Can I ask how the mechanics of that worked?
I think I was just holding them.
Like, were you doing one of those lifting them up and
No, that
you're
scares
so
me.
cute.
I don't really remember how it happened, but
In your mouth.
yeah, in my mouth. Even Trey was mortified.
Oh, and the 4-year-old is grossed out. You got a problem.
I don't know. Would I wash my own mouth out with soap after that? Would I gargle hand sanitizer?
Oh.
Would I brush my? I don't know what I'd do. I'm sorry that happened to you.
I just keel over. I'm done.
It's funny.
I'm out. No more.
I talked about that with you, so I'm basically, it's the same.
So it's
I'm in the
happening to
trench. I'm in the trench. There's basically baby throw up in my mouth. Anyway, we're going to talk about that Friday because I'm all wound up about how some people treated my friend Lauren here. I'm wound up. Okay. Sarah and I did this many years ago. We were first married. We're like, we need to see if we can, take care of things. Plants weren't going well. Like we were not keeping plants alive.
I'm pretty bad at plant care.
And that was concerning us. So we said, we need to get a dog. And that's what's going to help us figure out, can we actually care for a child? We're going to practice by getting a little dog. So we got our little Yorkie poo, Frankie. And
you got a Yorkie poo. Aww.
He was our little Yorkie poo. Like for a while when he was a puppy, Sarah would do the whole carry him around bit. Like he's
a baby.
You could put him inside your jacket and he would look around this cute little face. He got like old and kind of stinky after a while. He lasted for a long time.
The small ones do, yeah.
Yeah. But we loved that little Frankie. And it felt like some practice. Do you think pets help prepare you for having a baby? Is that a fair assessment?
I think the routine of having a particular dog, the routine of having a dog and having to go outside multiple times a day, take them on walks, I think that can help prepare.
Yeah.
You have cats. Is that, you feel like you're getting ready?
No, so I joke that my cats are my kids, but it's not the same. So one of them insists on being held on my shoulder like a child while I'm doing the dishes.
Yes.
But I can... But for the most, for majority of the day, she's ignoring me and she's totally fine. Like, that's not even a comparison. I used to take care of literal infants full time. It's not the same.
Well, there was this piece in the Akron Beacon Journal. It's an opinion piece by Teresa Bennett. She wrote this. Have you heard the one about the girl who adopts a dog and treats him like a baby? Yeah, that's me. Back before I had a baby of my own, I was convinced my dog was fully preparing me for motherhood, and that when I did have my first child, my heart would grow enough to carry equal love for them both. You're smiling.
Yeah, because we had a very dear dog when we had our son.
Well, I was right in some regards. I can now fully attest that having a dog is, in fact, a lot like having a toddler, for better or for worse. What do you, what, Ron? Huh?
I'm curious how far she's going to take this, because it is from the 0 to 10 scale or whatever. It gets you about 4, where you do have responsibilities. You've got to think about what's out in your house that the dog, especially a puppy, might destroy.
True.
Same as with a child, or that might injure your child. You have to think about feeding them, because they will eat what they have in the bowl, and then they're going to need more later. You have to think about their bathroom responsibilities. Fortunately, on most dogs, at least, you're not changing a diaper, but still, you've got to think about things on an ongoing basis, rather than pre-dog and pre-child. You just think about yourself.
But like, if you go on a trip, you have to, find care for them.
Yeah.
For your pets.
Yeah, well, there's the whole, hey, you know what? Let's go on a date. Put him in a cage. Let's go to work. Lock him in a cage.
Oh, do that with your kids.
It's about the same, right?
I'm talking about going on vacation. You can't, bring your dog, so you have to find someone to watch them,
Cats, you could leave for a couple days, couldn't you, Daria?
You still need someone to come check.
They're good for about 2 days. They won't be happy with you though.
There you go. A kid would be crabby, but wait, no, we wouldn't do that because it's a child. So she tells this really long adoption story of this dog. Very long.
Oh.
And then he was also high maintenance from the beginning, her dog. We quickly found out he had chronic allergies resulting in incessant itching.
Sad.
And woke us up at all hours of the night. So was the start of our nearly bi-monthly trips to the vet and the end of us sleeping well at night. Then the baby arrived. Soon, we had 2 little ones interrupting our sleep, making messes, and as my son Henry got older, competing with one another for my attention. Both seemed to constantly be needing something. Dogs are a nonstop responsibility, though there are obvious differences. I fully believe having a dog before my son helped prepare me to be a better mom. Pets teach you about life and commitment. They drain your bank account. They fill your heart like a child.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I feel like she's a half to 2 steps over the edge.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it can prepare you to care for something outside of yourself, where you have to think about somebody else's needs other than your own each day. You have to think about, my dog needs to go outside, my dog needs food, he's sick, we have to take him to the vet, whatever. But a human baby just needs even more than that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It sounds like she's dividing up the love equally. I feel so bad for a kid. It's like, if my dog needs my attention or my child, the dog's going to lose every time, and I'm going to make him go outside. Oh, I'm sorry, you're barking? I'm busy. Get out.
Yeah, I'm always really unsettled by people that unironically compare their pets to their human children. I'm like, you have a problem here.
Yeah. And I mean, I think some people take it too far, right? Where some followers of Christ end up just being almost viewing animals as disposable. I don't want them around. I'm just going to get rid of them. I don't care. No, we need to care deeply for them, but there's a line, baby. Humans are different. So I'm always a little weirded out by that.
I think it can prepare you. There's similarities. Yeah.
So there you go.
I'm not mad at her.
I'm not mad at her either, but I'm a little bit I don't know if I could be her friend too much.
Oh.
If we're dividing our love equally between a dog and a child, it's going to be a bit much for me.
Well, she did say there's differences.
You're being very generous.
Thank you.
I'm being very harsh. I'm working on it. Okay, it's 6:32. Time for a quick break. When we come back, there was a Worldview survey to determine what % of Americans have a Christian worldview. What % of Christians have a Christian worldview? The answer may surprise you. We'll get to the answer.
I'm Cindy Farini, and this is Pause for Prayer. Listening to a song years ago were these words, "Somebody's praying me through." I wondered, when we go through difficulties in life or need guidance as we make decisions, what if people weren't praying for us? As a result, Joe and I asked a group of people to be on a prayer team for a year, for them to be our upcoming ministry event prayers, and for family and for general needs, and then, of course, we would pray for them. That was over 25 years ago, and we're still going strong with our prayer team. Let's pause for prayer. Lord, we really don't know if others are praying for us, so we thank you for the prayer team you've allowed to surround us, and we pray that others would consider doing this for themselves as well. Please give us family and friends who will pray for us and us for them, who will hear our hearts and lift us up to you for the ministry you have called each of us to do, and for the joys and challenges you've given as well. May we rejoice and sorrow with each other in all things. I thank you for the listeners joining me in prayer at this moment. Would you please bless them today to find something wonderful in your word, to pray to you and hear an answer, to be encouraged in knowing that somebody's praying them through today. Thank you that the listeners can pray for those at this radio station and pray us through challenges and joys coming our way. May we come to you humbly, asking not for our own way, but yours, not for our own man-made ideas and thoughts, but yours. Help us to pray when you put others on our hearts, even if it's not from a prayer list or prayer chain, as we know you can touch our hearts to pray for those in need at any time. Thank you for the mightiness of prayer. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
If you're 65 or older, you know this. Seeing your healthcare costs go up and up is frustrating. And maybe you were just notified that your Medicare costs are increasing again, or you're just tired of the massive deductibles. Well, here's some good news. There's a program that can really help with this. It's MediShare 65 Plus. It's an affordable, reliable alternative. You can choose any Medicare provider. You get telehealth access anytime you need it. And MediShare 65 Plus is a low-cost option for those with Medicare Parts A and B, and it fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. MediShare is a Christian healthcare community that aligns with your faith. People actually pray for you. They encourage you, and it's proven, too. It's been going strong for over 30 years now. So call now. You can get one low monthly price for up to 10 years. You're not stuck with increasing costs. You can do something about this today. Call MediShare 65 Plus. Find out how much you can save. Call 833-59-SHARE. That's 833-59-SHARE. 833-59-SHARE.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
638 WCRF. If you haven't done it yet, be sure to register for your chance to win one of 5 pairs of tickets we have to see a play at Playhouse Square this weekend, starring Max McLean. And it's called C.S. Lewis on Stage, Further Up and Further In. If you want to get your tickets for free, we got 5 pairs. Enter for your chance to win. Text PLAY to 440-546-2255. Text PLAY to 440-546-2255.
I want to go.
You can't. Well, I mean, you could.
You got to buy your own tickets.
Clive Staples is my guy.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, right. C.S. Lewis. C.S.
Clive Staples.
His Staples?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think you're
I'm
right.
looking it up.
Clive.
I don't think I ever knew that.
Why don't I have a name like that?
There he is. Look at him. I took a C.S. Lewis class at Moody with Eva Rydelnik.
Nice. Oh, was it super great?
Yeah, we had to read so many books. Many books in a semester.
He's a tough read.
Yeah, you kind of have to go back. If your mind starts to wander, you're like, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, with Mere Christianity, I started into that, and I had to bail. I'm like, nope, you're too smart for me.
Well, and Tozer's the same way. If you ever
Tozer
tried
is
to
the
read
same way,
Tozer,
yeah.
it's like, goodness gracious me, I don't know what he's saying. Let me back up.
I like those websites that pull the quotes out.
Yes.
Tozer's one of my favorites. I've never read one of his books. I just like the little snippets that have been broken down into words I can understand.
Right.
Moody Publishers made a series of socks called Tozer on Your Toes.
I love
That is
that.
fantastic.
Space on them.
I didn't know he made socks.
Oh, yeah, Tozer for your toes.
Why did no one tell the rest of the employees about
Do we
this?
still have those?
I'll ask Eddie.
Is it those crazy toe socks that
No.
surround your
Oh,
toes?
gosh.
Oh, I don't like those.
No.
I couldn't do that.
Regular socks.
But it would be funny if they were those. Regular toes are on your toe. Oh. The creativity of the marketing department, I tell you. It was probably Eddie's idea.
No.
Eddie Cuevas Jr. Okay, so let's see. Who are they? Hello. There's a new report from the Cultural Research Center at Arizona Christian University, and it's based on the American Worldview Inventory of 2024.
Oh.
And what they tried to figure out was, to what extent do Americans hold a typical biblical worldview? And what they, and you'll be shocked to find out, we didn't. Americans did not hold a biblical worldview. Here's, before we get into some of the core questions, because what they found was essentially 10 indicators that Americans largely do not have a biblical worldview. We'll look at a few of them. The 2024 national survey showed that 66% of adults consider themselves to be Christians.
Okay.
That's a lot.
That's surprising.
Now, again, that's self-identifying. 66% of American adults say that they're, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. Whoa. I mean, doesn't that just, I don't even get it.
No, because usually like Pew and Barna come up with a lot more nuns than, people claiming Christ. So,
And some surveys will actually help you decide by asking you some very basic core tenets of Christianity. But in this case, just self-identifying, a whole bunch of people are in a garage and think they're a car, essentially. And then you've got just 4% of all adults and 6% of self-identified Christians possess a biblical worldview.
That's sad. And I figured it'd be low. I'm shocked it's that low.
Yeah, so of the 66% who go, hey, I'm a Christian, 6% actually possess a biblical worldview. Pretty wild.
Yeah, how do you figure that out? How do you what kind of questions are you asking them to figure that out?
So they had a whole bunch of different questions, which I will, hear me flipping?
Yes.
I'm flipping. No, I wouldn't actually flip. I can hardly, I can't touch my toes. How would I do a flip?
You flip out from time to time.
I do that.
Oh, yeah.
I've been known to holler, I can't work like this in the studio. Once I said that, and they'll never let me forget it.
We weren't even here for it.
Okay, so let's do the top 5 common worldview beliefs that conflict with biblical atheism. And I've got the percent of Americans who believe them. So here's one. People were asked, you strongly believe all animals, plants, the wind, and water have a unique spirit, just like human beings do. 31% of Americans believe that.
Oh, interesting.
So that's a lot of people.
That is a lot.
The wind?
Interesting.
I mean, I've heard people believe, animism or whatever. Water? What is that? Can you shower anymore? You're letting the water the Spirit go on your dirt? I don't. Do you follow me? Like, is that
Yeah, I understand what you're
mistreating water to let it be on
Obviously
your
not.
dirty self? I don't get it. But 31% of Americans subscribe to that, and that, of course, is not biblical in its worldview.
Yeah.
The only beings who possess a spirit are human beings. Okay. Next one. You strongly believe. Here's the statement. You strongly believe humans have no right to dominate animals, plants, or nature. We're supposed to live in harmony and interdependence with them. 31%.
Wow.
I'm surprised that one's not higher, to be honest. Like, I feel like even a lot of Christians would agree to that statement.
Yeah. How would you adjust this to make it biblical in some sense? Again, they're saying that we have no right to dominate animals, plants, or nature. We're supposed to live in harmony and interdependence with them. I don't know how you eat with that philosophy. Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like we should respect the planet that God has given us, and have value for all life. But Genesis is very clear that men are to have dominion over everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we're given dominion over animals, but I think we are supposed to treat them with care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen some Christians scoff at people who are concerned about the ethical treatment of animals. I'm not talking about PETA here. What I'm talking about is, okay, so fine, you have steak. It does matter how that cow is treated. If it's tortured to death, we should have a problem with that.
Yes. I don't think God would have asked Adam to name all the animals if he didn't want them to care about them.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And
I think he would have just been like, well, here's these things. You don't have to worry about them. They can be food and stuff, like sustenance for you, but to name them takes it to a different level, I think.
yeah, you'd have been like, Adam, sit down. We're going to have a taste test here. Let's take a bite. Start a fire. Here we go. Yeah, and I mean, even when you look at how some, when chickens are produced for food, the conditions they live in.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a chicken fan. I think they're gross and weird. But I think God made them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they should live their entire existence tortured in small confined space with like open sores and such, right? I mean, and so, but again, I think Christians fall short on this one. I think we have a reputation of not caring about those things. So, but at the same time, again, remind me, if you are not allowed to dominate in this worldview as expressed here by 31% of Americans, animals, plants, or nature, you're supposed to live in harmony with them, you will starve to death. How can you live in harmony with something if you eat it? And plants?
Studies have shown that plants actually produce a stress hormone when they're eaten. So
I remember that.
You can literally eat nothing at that point.
Oh.
Doesn't sound very harmonious. It sounds pretty torturous for humans. Meanwhile, plants get to eat sunlight.
Yes.
That's not fair. Okay, next one. Here's a statement. When determining what is right and wrong, you are most likely to rely upon your reason and emotions.
Can you say that again?
When determining what is right and wrong, you're most likely to rely upon your reason and emotions. The percent of Americans who would agree with that, just trust your feelings, Luke.
Yeah.
35%.
Oh, I thought it was going to be more than that.
So did I.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I thought that would be like 80-something percent.
Me too.
With reason included with emotions, I thought, okay, most people would say, yeah, I'm making a decision. I'm going to reason it out. Make your Ben Franklin list of positives and negatives and work it out. Emotions, well, to me, as a non-emotional person, I think they lie to you, so throw them away. But reason, yeah. But really, you should be, first and foremost, what does it say in the revealed Word of God? And then as you're praying and communing with God, where is He leading you, as a secondary to the Word? And then your logic and even your emotions.
Yeah, I mean, God gave us minds to use and emotions to feel. But I'll always love the phrase from Luther, my conscience is captive to the Word of God. Like, how do I make moral decisions? I determine first whether God has a position on it. And then whether I like it or not, that's my position. It's kind of a rudimentary way to say it. There's probably some fancy theological way, Lauren, to say that. No?
No.
There's not some big fancy long word in Greek?
No, I mean, maybe there is.
You just don't
Not
have
coming
it.
to mind right now.
Okay, well, you think about that. It's 6:48. Well, we'll get to the top 2, like, wrong-headed worldviews that Americans have. When remember, 66% of Americans claim that they are Christian.
Music is an important way that we can joyfully worship the Lord. This month, take your family on an exploration of music in the Bible with Today in the Word's Family Study. This kid-friendly devotional will help keep your entire family grounded in Scripture and includes hands-on activities to help your children understand why music is a wonderful gift from God. Get your free Today in the Word devotional and download the free Go Along Family Study at todayintheword.com.
Attention, attention please. Who here is a fan of Moody Radio? Wow, that's a lot of hands. Now, raise your hand if you have never taken the opportunity to support Moody Radio with a gift. Wow, many hands make light work. If we all give something, the needs will be met. Thanks for giving us a hand.
Give right now by going to moodyradio.org/Cleveland. Thanks so much.
Helping you take the next step in your walk with Jesus. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
Daria's back. We're super excited.
Hi.
Not just her presence, just being an awesome person, but also the live stream works now because she knows how to do it. We don't. You can watch the whole thing later today or right now. Just text live to 440-546-2255. We've been looking at there's a Christian university in Arizona, I believe it is, that did a survey of Worldview, found 66% of Americans self-identify as Christian, but only about 4% actually hold a biblical worldview. And how do they figure that out? They asked them to answer some basic questions, identify their level of agreement with certain statements. And many of the statements were not biblical in their worldview. So here's the top 2. Number 2, in terms of percentage, the statement is, people are neither good nor bad when they're born, but become either good or bad through their accumulated life choices. Not a biblical worldview at all.
No.
Sounds kind of like karma.
Yeah, and there was that, was it Rousseau who believed in the tabula rasa? Oh, did you hear that? Oh.
Wow.
Wasn't that...
Blank slate. It could have been Locke, actually.
I think it was Locke, yeah.
John Locke.
Yeah, it was John Locke.
Second Treatise on Government.
Yeah.
Maybe not. That's the only one I know. I just said it out loud. It sounds smart. But yeah, in Enlightenment philosophy, people started to diverge from biblical thinking on humanity. Some people, it began in 3 camps. People are inherently good, they're neutral, or they're bad. Now, a Christian worldview would say that we're sinful by nature and that we need a redeemer. So to be a Christian, you must believe that you need a savior. If you think that you're neutral or good, you don't need Jesus.
Yeah.
That's the fundamental principle of the gospel. So when a group of Americans were asked and given the statement that people are neither good nor bad, they're neutral, 46% agreed. 46% of Americans believe they're neutral.
And again, I'm surprised that some of these numbers aren't higher. I figured 70, 80% would say, oh, yes, people are inherently good.
Right. Yeah, well, and since I don't like how they presented this research. It left me wanting a lot because my presumption is that one of the choices was people are good, and there'll be a significant percentage of that. Why? Because the biblical worldview would be that people are inherently bad, and we know that only 4% have a biblical worldview. But what they're giving us is the highest percent, so to speak. I still remember when I was having that very debate as a high school, what was I teaching? World history teacher. We were teaching the Enlightenment, teaching a group of juniors in high school, so 17-year-olds, 16, 17-year-olds, the various ideas of the nature of humanity. And what I told them was, I think I actually revealed my perspective. Or was I just teaching the view? I don't remember. It's been a long time. But I said, listen, just hang out with my kids for a little while, or with any small children, and you're going to realize that they're not naturally doing what's good. You don't have to teach them to do bad. They inherently do what's bad.
Yeah.
You have to teach them right behavior. And so one kid raises his hand. Maybe you should try different parenting strategies. Right? That's what he said to me. I mean,
You should have gotten his number so he could call you when he became a parent.
right? The vast majority of the students, vast majority, didn't think people were neutral. They thought they were good.
I feel like that's a very youthful way to look at the world, though.
Yeah, and a very like self-blind view.
Yeah.
Like if you were to take, I mean, it's like if you're listening right now and I were able to magically grab all of your thoughts from the last 24 hours and get a script and read them on the radio and attach your name to it. John Doe, here's what he thought. You'd be embarrassed. And we'd be shocked and horrified. Same thing if you took my thoughts. Right? And so that to me is like take thoughts, forget behavior. Our thoughts reveal our brokenness and our badness. I mean, even so much of our behavior throughout the day, if at its core, is selfishly motivated. I mean, Lauren's like, not me. I'm a mom.
No, it is.
Is it? Okay, just checking. All right, the number one worldview belief, it was tied for highest percentage of people that subscribe to it. You strongly believe it's possible for a married couple to be bonded to each other for eternity.
For eternity.
Which is a pretty obscure thing, by the way. I mean, there's a right answer biblically to this, but it's like, I'm not sure I'm ready to throw somebody out with the bathwater here. But no, there's no marriage in heaven.
Yeah, I'm wondering where they're trying to get at with this question.
They're trying to figure out because that's a Mormon principle.
Oh.
It's not biblical, right? It feels a bit technical, but 46% of Americans think that you're married for eternity. Bonded for eternity. The Bible doesn't say that. Jesus says that you're not married in heaven. You're, worshiping God.
Right.
You're not worried about marriage.
Yeah.
Because they tried to trick him with the elaborate story of, well, a woman was married and her husband died, and she then went on to the next brother in line and, went through 7 different husbands. Which one is her husband in heaven? And Jesus said, none of them. In essence, that's the same. You're worshiping God in heaven. It's not about being married.
Yeah, this is where it's so important this day and age, I think, that we're not so focused on what everyone else is doing wrong. Are we focused on whether we truly understand the heart of God and his desires for us? Are we reading the scriptures? Are we reading supplementary material, having discussions, so we can truly conform our hearts to Christ? You can only do it if you know what he wants you to do, rather than just go with your feelings like you're a Jedi or something.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
on WCRF. We got Ron's news. We got today's More Ron moment. In an hour, Rob Fenn from the Social Security Administration is coming back to answer your Social Security questions. Why? Because basically the whole thing doesn't make sense. Anybody I talk to about Social Security, you just kind of go, huh? What? How do you do that? And Rob's got all of the answers. The dude is amazing.
Yes, he is.
He's throwing out facts and numbers and policies and laws and years and dates and math, all the maths.
Yep.
So if you have a question about Social Security, you could text him in early if you want to get in line.
Mm-hmm.
Just text those questions to 440-546-2255, 440-546-2255. Now, coming up in just a few minutes as well after Ron's news, many couples experience in a life cycle of a marriage, if not all, a phase where you suddenly feel like you're basically just kind of roommates. How do you get there, and how do you get out of there? We'll talk about it from Psychology Today's perspective and from what the Lord has to say about it.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
The NYPD moved in to arrest pro-Palestinian protesters as they marched through Manhattan. It's 7:02. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. The Metropolitan Museum of Art Monday had celebrities heading in to the annual Met Gala. Some demonstrators were seen carrying signs with phrases like, "No Met Gala," while bombs drop on Gaza. The former Cleveland home of Jesse Owens is on the path to becoming a historic city landmark. Cleveland's Development, Planning, and Sustainability Committee approved that designation this week. Owens called the East 100th Street residents in the city's Fairfax neighborhood home at the time that he won 4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympics in Germany. And a new report shows that evictions are on the rise in the Cleveland area. The report shows that from 2022 to 2023, there was a 10.7 increase percentage-wise in eviction filings in Cleveland. While that percentage may seem high, it was relatively low as compared to other cities across the country. Sports and weather coming right up.
If you've made decisions that left you and others hurt, and you're in a place where it feels beyond repair, remember that your God gives second chances. In his book, Moving Forward After Messing Up, Professor and Pastor Chris Rappazzini leads you to the forgiveness and restoration that God loves to give. Find encouragement as you face the mess. Seek God, and finally find joy and peace and a newfound dream. Moving Forward After Messing Up. Available now at moodybooks.org.
In sports, the Guardians edged the Tigers 2-1, the Pirates clipped the Angels 4-1, and the Cavaliers will open up their Eastern Conference semifinal series against the Celtics tonight. Come on, Cavs. Got to make it happen. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Partly sunny today, a chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Our high temperatures should reach into the upper 70s. At last check, cloudy skies, 57 degrees in Cleveland. Akron and Canton clear now and 54 degrees. Lorraine and Elyria, cloudy and 56.
It's time for your moron moment.
Have you ever seen something advertised as chocolatey? The term chocolatey on products often signals that it doesn't meet the standards to be labeled as true chocolate. This phrasing cleverly implies a chocolate-like flavor without enough real chocolate content. Food labeling laws dictate when a product can be called chocolate. Chocolatey gets used when the cocoa content falls short. It's a marketing workaround offering a chocolate-like experience while skirting the stricter standards of chocolate labeling. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 7:05 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine studio. It's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
WCRF, Mornings with Brian. The whole team's together. Daria's back, so the live stream is going, and the world is a better place. Text live to 440-546-2255 and see how Lauren and I are kind of matchy-matchy today.
We are.
I was noticing that.
It was not planned.
No, it wasn't. We both debated whether we ought to change. But I was afraid if we both go change, we'd come back matchy again. So we just left it.
That used to happen with me and my mom. We just ended up with almost identical outfits, even though we would shop independently.
Oh,
and I would get so mad, especially as a teenager. I would get so mad if we were coming out and wearing the exact same shirt, even though we didn't intend to have the same shirt bought or worn that day, but it happened all the time.
Yeah, one of my faves as a kid, being matchy-matchy, my brother went to his senior prom. He's 2 years older. And I was asked to go by a junior as a sophomore, so no big deal. I went. We both went to a tux place, and because that's what you did back in the days, you get a tux for prom. I don't think people do that anymore. Everybody's wearing...
You'd know best out of all
I
of
just
us.
went to take prom pictures or whatever for my son, and everybody goes to Hiram College from James A. Garfield High School, and there's all the kids there. Nobody's wearing a tux. It's all suits. But anyway, back in the day, you go to a tux rental place, you rent a tux, and you get the vest, and the vest is what distinguishes your tux from everybody else.
Oh.
Okay? And I ordered one, and my brother ordered one. And when we picked them up, there was a mix-up, and we had the same one.
Wow.
My brother was so mad that he was matchy-matchy with his widow Boavo. I thought it was hilarious. There's pictures of me like looking super excited and my brother upset. He avoided me the whole night.
You would have done that anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What?
Avoided you.
Oh, yeah. No, he was not a Brian fan. He was not a Brian fan. All right. So there's a phase of marriage I would venture to guess everybody experiences. I think it may be universal. I can only tell you I feel that way. I'm hoping that because I've been there. Sarah and I have been there at least once, probably a couple of times. And it's when you feel like roommates. Now, when you're particularly Christian and you're single, you just feel like if you're lonely, you're like, you know what's going to solve this? Marriage. Are you laughing, Ron?
I am laughing.
Why? Why would you laugh at that? Marriage is the solution to loneliness, isn't it?
Sometimes, and some of the time, but it also can magnify your loneliness sometimes.
I like how you put that. Would you ladies agree with that?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
If magnify your loneliness. Okay, so why would it magnify it, do we think?
I think because there's someone else there, but it feels like they don't even know you exist sometimes. So then it's even more, you feel more aware that you're alone.
Yeah, like if you're going through a phase where you're not connecting, you're like, well, there's this person, but I can't talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like almost torture to be seen but not known. Yeah. For Sarah and I feel like the roommate phase was at its worst when we had our second child. And sorry, Lauren, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to project onto you that that's where you are now with Eddie, but
we were in a different phase. You had kids closer in age together.
yeah, oh yeah, they were 17 months apart. And oh goodness, we had a lot of reasons. I don't have enough time to go into that. But we were not in a healthy cycle, the two of us, and we were essentially arguing about whose turn it was to get extra sleep, whose turn it was to do this and that, and we were just coordinating our lives around two very needy infants, you know? And it was brutal. And we both kind of had an underlying sense towards each other of, this isn't fair. You've got it better than me. Because we were both so miserable. Do you connect in any way to that, or is it just a Brian problem?
Not right now, but yes.
You understand where I'm coming from on that? Okay.
Yeah.
So here's how psychology today paints this picture. And I think there's a unique way Christians ought to view the idea of being lonely in your marriage relationship. But psychology today can get us, I think, halfway there. Here's the way they describe the situation. You and your partner hardly ever fight, but something's missing in your relationship. A sense of being lovers, of passion, of emotional intimacy, of closeness. The pain of missing out on a deep love that feels just out of reach is heartbreaking. And since there's no arguments, no clear history of relationship problems to point to, you're left wondering, how did we get here? Now, I described a phase of that involved conflict, but this one, I see this one more as the couple who raises kids for 15 to 18 years. And then the kids start to become independent somewhere in there. And you're like a really good partner with your spouse. You coordinate schedules well. You got the whole meal plan going. You're doing the grocery shopping.
Pick up, drop off.
You got your little hobbies. But you really are not close to this person.
Yeah, I think that's what happens when you put your marriage on autopilot.
And it's so easy to do it, Daria.
It is.
Yeah, and I think even in the phase you and Jimmy are at, it's easy to get into this like robotic routine because I think people thrive in routine.
Mm-hmm.
But routine, I think, often works against closeness.
Yeah, and it can be. So I just saw a friend over the weekend who I haven't seen in almost a year, and we had some really great conversations because we hadn't seen each other in a while. We had a lot to catch up on. But when you get used to a person that's there day in and day out, you can forget that those conversations are just as important, even if you see them all the time.
I still remember Sarah and I went out to dinner in the midst of our marriage intensive with Ray and Nancy Kane. So we did this super intense day, and it was like we get to a stopping point, and they're like, "So you want to grab dinner?" And we're like, "You want to eat with us after this?" And so we go out to eat, and Nancy told me that only about 10% of Christian marriages are really healthy and thriving.
Mm.
And so I think this roommates idea is rampant in the church, likely.
Probably.
Not that anyone's doing anything intentionally wrong. I think it's just the nature of how we work. It just ends up that way. So if you're wondering, how did we get there? The answer, according to Psychology Today, is it's a pattern of mutual withdrawal. Instead of having the tough conversations, both partners have learned to shut down their own needs and become self-sufficient, instead of turning to each other for contact, care, and comfort. Over time, this has led to a pattern in which neither partner leans on the other for their attachment needs to be met, leaving both partners with unmet needs in the relationship. And the more that needs for closeness go unmet in the relationship, the more each partner learns to cope by turning away. The thinking is, when I don't get what I need, I take care of myself. However, this creates a culture of distance in the relationship. All of a sudden, turning towards each other, leaning on each other, and expressing affection become awkward.
Mm.
I would tweak him a little bit there.
Okay.
Because it sounds like he's saying it's a conscious thought of, I don't get what I need, so I'll get it myself, rely on myself, whatever. I'm not sure it's always deliberate. You might just start to rely on yourself because it's easier, I can do this, instead of having to wait and explain things to my wife and see if she's got time to do this. I'll just handle it myself. And then, the wife, the same with the husband. Well, I can't wait till he gets home from work, blah, blah, blah. I'll just do it. And so little by little, you're doing everything yourself and not necessarily saying it's not that I'm not getting help from them. It's just that it's easier to do it myself.
No, I'm with you 100% on that.
Yeah, I think it's sorry, Brian. I think it's a slow drift.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone intentionally says, I'm going to wreck my marriage today. It's just these things happen over time.
Yeah, no, it really does. So I think some folks are probably connecting with this concept. So the deeper issue and the more important question is, how do you get out of this? Because I think it should be our heart's desire as believers to have a healthy, thriving marriage. So how do you get out of the roommate phase? We'll talk more about that in just a moment.
When CareNet conducted a national survey of hundreds of women who'd had an abortion, a stunning statistic emerged. 4 out of 10 women who chose an abortion were regularly attending a church at the time. Abortion isn't just an out-there issue in the community, it's inside the church. Making Life Disciples is an exclusive CareNet curriculum designed to equip churches to provide compassion, hope, help, and discipleship to women and men considering abortion. Making Life Disciples is a simple, easy-to-access training that allows your church to begin a gospel-centered approach to caring for the abortion vulnerable. Transform your church's response to abortion, form a network of security for people at risk, and become a central point of compassion in your community. Learn more about the Making Life Disciples curriculum at care-net.org. Search Making Life Disciples at care-net.org.
If you've been thinking about a career in aviation, consider a Bachelor of Science degree in Missionary Aviation Technology from Moody Bible Institute. Flight majors earn an average of 325 flight hours, including over 100 hours of flight experience in high-performance aircraft. You'll be fully trained to get your private, instrument, and commercial pilot certification immediately after graduation. And you'll have a foundation in Bible and avionics technical training. Visit moody.edu/aviation. That's moody.edu/aviation.
At home, he's the dad who Ubers his kids around town. At church, he's the drummer that plays a little too loud during worship. But here, he's the guy who asks all the questions you wouldn't. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
$7:23, WCRF Mornings with Brian. Remember, you can go to see Max McLean play this weekend at Playhouse Square on Saturday. C.S. Lewis on Stage, Further Up and Further In, is showing, and we got 5 pairs of tickets to give away. You could enter for your chance to win one of those pairs of tickets by texting the word PLAY to 440-546-2255. Text PLAY to 440-546-2255. All right, we've been chatting before the break, if you're just tuning in, about a phase of marriage I think many, dare I say most couples experience, and it's the roommate phase, where you kind of wake up and you go, how did we get here? I mean, we're not arguing all the time, but there's really not a significant difference between us and what roommates are like. And marriage is supposed to be more than that. It is. It's supposed to be more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get out of it? It says in Psychology Today, if you want to break this pattern and feel closer to your partner, you need to stop avoiding tough conversations. You need to start opening up about your feelings and needs. That's hard to start when you haven't talked about those things.
Mm.
I mean, you almost have to schedule it. You can't be like, are you picking up the kids at 6? 6? Yeah, okay. By the way, I feel alone. Okay? See you later.
As the other spouse is heading out the door to jump in the car. I feel alone.
Now, they give a a possible entry point. Here's what they say. This could sound something like, hey, I've noticed that I've been going into my corner lately. I want to break our pattern and share how I've been feeling. What I'm recognizing is that I've been feeling inadequate lately because I've been seeing you going into your corner too. I miss you. And what I think I need is some time with you tonight. Can we spend an evening together? Do we like that? Would you respond well to that?
Yeah, I do like that. I think for some people that might be a hard subject to bring up, though, especially if you've been coasting like this for a while and you're not sure if the other person wants to be closer or if they're just content with how things are.
Yeah, I think many people would have a tendency to be like, you're not close to me anymore. Yeah, that's not going to go well.
No, not at all.
This one seemed to kind of build off the I statements. Like, I've been going in my corner and ignoring you a lot, and I feel like you might be doing that too, and I want more. I don't know why you couldn't just look at somebody and be less melodramatic and go, you look at your spouse. You're laughing because I'm melodramatic?
Yes.
Yeah. You can look at your spouse and go, I feel like we're roommates. Do you feel that way?
I feel like you should have that kind of relationship with your spouse where you can just come out and, like, I like the other statement, but I feel like with the person you're married to and know better than anybody, you should be able to be a little bit more direct.
Yeah, you'd be like, hey, I feel like we're roommates and I love you. I don't want to feel like that. I don't know what to do.
Or even lifting out from that previous paragraph, just the comment, I miss you. That can be a conversation starter in and of itself.
Yeah, Sarah and I said that to each other when we see each other every day. I miss you.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are nodding like you've done that.
Yeah, when I was pregnant with Ellis, and we were just kind of in a hard phase with Trey's sleep. We were in a new place. We were temporarily at my parents' house, and I was going to sleep early because, number one, I was exhausted, and also this job, and I was starting an hour earlier than here.
Right.
And so I went to sleep pretty early. I'd basically put Trey to sleep and then go to sleep myself. And so we didn't have much time together. And as I would be putting Trey to sleep, Eddie would just, start playing some games. And then I'd come out of Trey's room and be like, oh, let's go to sleep now. And so we didn't have much time together. And so I remember saying, I miss you. I miss being with you. And it made me have, on weekends, to really try to stay up late and work to stay awake and not just fall asleep while we're watching a show together or something, but to be intentional about that time together.
Yeah, Jimmy and I work opposite shifts a fair amount, so it's not uncommon for us to not even see each other at all on a given day sometimes.
That's hard.
It is, but it's like, okay, I sleep next to this person, but I haven't had a meaningful conversation with them in 2 weeks. It's hard.
So how do you break the cycle? How do you... I mean, they're saying obviously you have to break the ice at some point, but
yeah,
oftentimes life moves at a pace where you almost have to make room for that discussion, schedule it.
And sometimes maybe you can start without the discussion. If the definition of this is that you're taking care of your own needs, each partner, well, then look to what you used to do for her. In my case, I'm thinking of Dana, and is there something that, I used to do that she's taken over doing for herself because I've been too self-absorbed on my own needs and issues. And if there's nothing you could think of, then remember, what her favorite drink from Starbucks is, or her favorite flowers, or just something, give something to her to kind of break the ice that way. You don't have to be like, wah, I feel lonely. You're not meeting my needs, which it can end up, even if you couch it the right way, it still comes across that way.
Yeah, no, right. I mean, break the ice in some way.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that if you even sit down and chat about this and you still feel kind of lost, you don't have to wait for a crisis to go to marriage counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah and I looked for, there's people trained in this. You can, there's Fieldstone Counseling. There's, I think Emerge is another one in town.
Yeah, North Coast Family.
But also search through the insurance directory with your insurance provider and look for the suffix. So the suffix MFT, Marriage and Family Therapist. And that's somebody who's trained in marriage. That's what we ended up doing, looking for a marriage and family therapist. So they have extra training in that front. And they can help you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think far too often people, my generation and older, have viewed the counselor as the last resort in a major crisis, when I think it's the first step if you're having a hard time connecting. Why not go then, as opposed to wait till you just don't like each other anymore? And then I also will say, I think one of the big problems for believers is that we think that the solution by itself would just be turning towards each other, as John Gottman puts it in his books. And the reason that's not enough is because many of us, I think, turn our marriage into an idol. You knew where I was going.
Yeah.
It's so easy to turn your spouse into your idol. But if you truly believe that if you can just get your marriage right, you're going to experience happiness and fulfillment, you're wrong. Your spouse is not capable of fully fulfilling your life.
I think you need to remember that marriage is designed to mirror the covenant that we have with Jesus. So that's one incentive to get your marriage right, and two, also remembering that the ideal healthy marriage relationship should be very similar to what you have with Jesus, and you should always be striving to put him first.
Yeah, and I know for many of us that sounds like oh, that's nice. Yeah, love God the most. I don't know how to do that. It's because you've been placing your entire expectation for your fulfillment in life on your spouse. Not only is that unfair, it's literally idolatry, and you need to repent. Your spouse is a broken sinner, and they are not capable of making you feel complete and fulfilled. Not capable. They will fail you every time. Who's they? Any person. You need to put Christ first. That's why it's love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Loving God first is where it comes from. And David got this. And there's some portions of the Psalms that really make it a beautiful picture. He writes in Psalm 16, I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing. That's how much he loves the Lord. Mm-hmm. And he had a wife, a couple of them, I think, actually.
Several.
Yeah. And so again, he said, I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing. Lord, you alone are my portion and my cup. You make my lot secure. The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. I will praise the Lord who counsels me. Even at night, my heart instructs me. I keep my eyes always on the Lord. With him at my right hand, I will not be shaken. You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with a joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. And then, of course, you have Paul. I think he summarizes a similar sentiment well in Philippians 4. For I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I've learned the secret to being content in every situation. Whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want, I can do all things through him who gives me strength. Another way to paraphrase that is the Bryan translation, if you apply it to marriage. I've learned to be content no matter what my marriage feels like today. Whether I feel alone or happy and connected. Whether I feel angry at my spouse or loving towards them. How have I figured this out? Because I can do all things through Christ, who is the source of my strength. Jesus ought to be your first love. Then your marriage can fall into place. That's how a Christian would write this article differently. But at the same time, I want to be sure you understand, I'm not a guy who wants to throw out psychology. A lot of Christians do that, and I think it's foolish and silly. The concept of turning towards each other, having direct conversations, is not only biblical, but it's psychologically a great idea. Go get some help. You don't have to be so alone in your marriage. 7:34, coming up in a few minutes, there's a unique category of American who has a need for chaos.
Uh-oh.
And I think it's wrecking the whole place. We'll talk about it.
It's easy to see God's hand at work when good things happen. But Dr. Tony Evans says it's often a different story when tragedy strikes. He'll talk about a painful example today as we spend 2 minutes with Tony.
A woman has her first pregnancy. She's lived with 9 months of joy and anticipation, and the baby dies. Can we give an explanation for why that happened? Absolutely not. And you can make up all the fanciful statements you want to make, and it doesn't change the fact this is this woman's baby. And so we face those. We face tragedies and difficulties in ministering to people. If those things didn't happen, you wouldn't even need ministry. Ministry exists because in this world there is trouble. And no trouble hits a believer that does not pass through God's fingers first. You must say, God, this came through you. See, God is not in control only of the blessings, he's in control of the mess. So certain things God won't do that he will allow to be done. That's sovereignty. The main reason why God allows us, even in our righteousness, to go through painful and sometimes prolonged situations is to give us a fresh vision of him that goes beyond what we heard and can recite and quote. He wants to give you some sight of him that you would have not gotten in a normal, blessed life.
Need more help understanding the circumstances that seem to be crushing you? Check out Tony's teaching series, Why Is God Killing Me? Available online at tonyevans.org. Then join us next time for 2 Minutes with Tony.
The Every Woman's Bible is a study Bible for the heart and mind. Engaging study notes and devotionals address topics relevant to women with cultural, historical, and literary clarity and context to gain greater understanding. Over 100 Every Woman's Bible scholars, writers, and contributors, all women from around the world, invite you into a global community. Begin your journey today at everywomansbible.com. Tyndale's best-selling Every Man's Bible is also available at tyndale.com.
Helping you take the next step in your walk with Jesus. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
737 WCRF. It's an election year. I just want to go hide and hibernate. It's because I'm lazy and because I don't want to be around all the ridiculousness. It's so gross. It didn't used to be gross. Maybe I just am forgetful. Ron, was it always this bleh?
On and off. You forget that there was a campaign where literally the one candidate said, "It's the economy, stupid."
That's true. That's kind of mean.
That's pretty bold. But yeah, that was one year. And then other years that, things were such a landslide that one candidate, the only state he won was his home state.
Okay, yeah, bring up Minnesota. Thanks a lot.
I didn't say it.
Yeah, you guys don't know about that. It was Ronald Reagan's re-election. He won every state but Minnesota because his opponent was Walter Mondale, who's from
Minnesota.
I
feel like it's been this way for all my life. Like the first election I remember being aware of was Bush versus Kerry. And even at like 7 or 8, I'm like, it felt like it was pretty volatile. And then it just got worse from there.
Yeah, and we seem to be in a moment of American history where the polar extremes are kind of just running the things.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all just kind of going, how do we get here? What's going on?
Yeah, this is probably the first election that more people don't like either candidate than that like a candidate.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Before, it's always been, at least people liked one or the other. But here it's kind of like, I don't like either of the major candidates, but I have to decide which one I don't like the most and vote against him.
Which one will do the least damage?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're we just so many people are focusing their attention on figuring out who's to blame for this. That's who I'm going to be mad at. I mean, for some people, it's the other party. For some people, it's a particular population. I mean, we just get our pet things and we just get so mad about stuff. And then enters an article from The Atlantic by Derek Thompson, who describes a category of American that maybe helps us make some more sense of all this. That it's a bit mystifying to me. So I've got to read a little bit of his work here to help you get a picture of it. He says, several years ago, the political scientist Michael Bang Peterson, why don't I have a name like that? Bang, B-A-N-G. Wow. Michael Bang Peterson, who's based in Denmark, wanted to understand why people share conspiracy theories on the internet. I want to know too.
Yeah.
He and other researchers designed a study that involved showing American participants blatantly false stories about Democratic and Republican politicians. So they'd take one person and they'd show them blatantly false stories about both sides. The subjects were asked, Would you share these stories online? Like for each one, would you share this? Would you share this? The results seem to defy logic of modern political polarization. There were many people who seemed willing to share any conspiracy theory, regardless of the party it hurt. Peterson told me. These participants didn't seem like the stable partisans of the left or the right. They weren't even negative partisans who hated one side without feeling allegiance to the other. Above all, they seemed drawn to stories that undermine trust in every system of power.
Okay.
Peterson felt as though he'd tapped a new vein of nihilism in modern politics, a desire to rip down the elites, whatever that might mean. He wanted to know more about what these people were thinking. And for the research, he and his co-researchers asked participants how much they agree with several statements, including the following. First one, we cannot fix the problems in our social institutions. We need to tear them down and start over. Whoa. Second one, I need chaos around me. It's too boring if nothing's going on. Right?
Wow.
At least they're honest.
The third one, when I think about our political and social institutions, I cannot help thinking, just let them all burn. Like, these are nutty. Right? These are, the best thing we can do is just tear it all down. That's chaos. It's anarchy. So the researchers came up with a term to describe the motivation behind these all-purpose conspiracy mongers. They called it the need for chaos, which they defined as a mindset to gain status by destroying the established order. In their study, nearly a third of respondents demonstrated a need for chaos. A third!
So they think that chaos is going to solve the problem because it's going to make everybody stop.
Yeah, they're like, I give up. I don't hate either side. I just hate it. Let it all burn.
Hate government and
the system
and
the swamp, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So a third of participants demonstrated a need for chaos.
Wow.
And about 5% of voters, old-fashioned allegiances to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, melted away and were replaced by a desire to see the entire political elite destroyed, even without a plan to build something better in the ashes.
So they don't care what comes afterwards.
No, they have no plan.
And they want it to all crumble before they have a plan.
5% of America, the plan is tear it all down.
I feel like this is indicative of a personality disorder.
Yeah.
Right. And this is, dare I say, the focal point of most cable news is on that 5%. They don't say this out. They don't go around going, burn it all down. But at their core, they're ready for it.
They're just angry.
Yeah. I don't care what happens as long as this whole thing falls apart. What are you going to do instead? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's better than this.
Yeah. We'll protest whatever comes next because we're chaotic people.
And a third of respondents, 1 out of 3 Americans, demonstrate at least some need for chaos.
Because chaos is the only thing that will solve it. I don't get that.
Or because they like it. Like, I've met people in my life who, this is the way I phrase it, everything's not okay unless everything's not okay. They're that person in your family that stirs it up when things are calm.
They got to have some drama.
They just want to watch the world burn.
Yes. They want to set it on fire and watch it burn.
Because their life is so unfulfilling.
And so this person says the concept of need for chaos can help explain the mess that is American politics in 2024. Now, to what extent is this the cause of where we are, and where as Christians do we go from here? Well, that's something we got to chat about together, at least start the conversation. And I think all of us need some self-examination. Is there any part of us that just kind of would like to see it all burn for a little while? Will you admit that at least? A third of America, there's 1 in 3 of you listening right now, if you really examined yourself, would feel that way. Should you? We'll get to more in just a minute.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten.
Without Trinity support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838. That's 1-800-659-9838.
Moody Founders Week speaker Ann Voskamp on praying to have the courage of Esther.
Convict us, Lord. We are Esther's living inside the gate. You've got to use your position inside the gate for those outside of the gate. We are where we are for such a time as now to risk everything because we belong to you, Jesus. We are where we are, Lord, not to make an impression, but to make a difference, because you are pressed right into our hearts. For such a time as now, Lord, we say with Esther, we are yours. If I perish, I perish. And all the Esther said, amen.
Become more effective in prayer. Visit moodyradio.org/prayer. moodyradio.org/prayer.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
7:46. Big show this weekend. Big show. Playhouse Square. Saturday. C.S. Lewis on stage, Further Up and Further In, starring Max McLean. I'm pumped up. He's an actor, so he's still, I don't know, sleeping, preparing. I don't know what he's doing. But later on today, I'm going to record an interview with him.
Well, he's in California, so.
Oh, that's it. There you go.
Yeah. But he probably is still sleeping.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I were an actor, I wouldn't be getting up anytime soon, especially if you start work at 9 p.m. or whatever they do.
The 3 hours behind us, too.
Yeah, you're a very sympathetic person. But I'm excited to talk to him. And we have 5 pairs of tickets to give away to the show. You want to go see the show? You could enter to win one of the 5 pairs of tickets to go this Saturday to Playhouse Square to see the C.S. Lewis on stage, Further Up and Further In, starring Max McLean. Text the word PLAY to 440-546-2255. Text PLAY to 440-546-2255. All right, so really interesting piece from The Atlantic. We went through some sections of it here, but there was a political scientist out of Denmark who did a study of Americans and found there was a shocking number of Americans who were willing to share conspiracy theories no matter who it hurt, because they had deep in their core a need for chaos. Like statements like, we can't fix the problems in our social institutions, so we need to tear them down and start over. This place is such a mess, we got to let it all burn. Variations of that. Now, what they found is 5% of Americans wanted it to all tear down, and they have no plan to rebuild from the ashes. They just want it all to all burn. And that's scary, 5%.
Right.
1/3 of Americans identify at least some level of a need for chaos. And I'm like super horrified by this. 1 in 3.
I'm not surprised.
Why aren't you surprised?
I mean, like I said, I mean, I understand that at one point elections were different, but every major election in my lifetime has been this to increasing degrees. I'm honestly surprised it's not higher, where maybe people aren't being honest, but I think a lot of people thrive on that, maybe because they're bored, they're trying to fill something in their life. But I think most people, if they were being honest, they would admit to at least once tossing a proverbial grenade into a room and just seeing what happens.
Yeah, and I think there's probably another third that are convinced if they could just eliminate the other party, everything would be perfect. Now, I don't mean I'm not talking about genocide here. I'm just talking about totally destroy the other party, to the point that you could finally get all your ideas out there. And because your ideas in your party, that's what's going to make America work. And then we're left with a third of us, maybe. This is me. I can only verify the first third of people that want chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I think the final third of us are going, what's wrong with you people? Now, here's the crazy part. As Christians, I think we're constantly searching for a special pass. We think we can follow Jesus and then have this pass, like get out of jail free card in Monopoly, but it's I don't have to display the fruits of the Spirit card.
Mm.
Like there's certain categories of things where you can just slap down your pass. Oh, got a pass. I don't have to display love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control, gentleness. I forgot one in there. I see it all the time. Kindness, yeah. Like we should be, in all things, exuding love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control.
Wow.
Always. We don't get a pass.
I just thought about sports fans like myself. I'm not very kind when my player takes a bad shot or makes a bad play or fumbles the ball.
Because you could do so much better.
Right. Of course, obviously. And I'm never kind to the opposing team.
But see, there's a level at which I think even when you look at sports fanaticism in that way, if you met the person, you're not going to say that to them.
No, because even the smallest player is dwarfing me.
And there's a part of you that knows you're on your recliner in your living room.
Right.
You're just kind of letting off some steam.
Mm-hmm.
You don't wish ill on that particular athlete.
No.
I think it's different in politics today.
They're actually mean to each other, like in person.
Yeah, and if you saw them, you might yell at them or sneer at them. And somehow we think Christians can do this today.
Yeah, I don't know if we can fully blame the people because I think they're responding to politicians being increasingly nasty to each other.
Yeah.
We can argue which came first, but I think the institutions share a lot of the blame.
You think Christians can hate the other party?
No.
Can we do that? No?
I think you can hate an ideal as a Christian, but I think people conflate, people believe in ideals, though. So I think they conflate the ideal with the person. Like, because someone believes in something you don't believe in, you cannot believe that and you can believe it's evil, but that doesn't mean the person is evil.
Maybe it's the nuance that distracts people there?
Yeah, I think so. And because something is not your number one priority, or because something is your number one priority but not someone else's, you think that you can hate them. And that is not true.
Yeah, I mean, the other pass people are throwing around like it's, candy here is the love your enemy.
Yeah.
Right? In multiple spots, Jesus himself and the apostles, God wrote the Bible anyway, all of it, God himself multiple times said, if you just love people who are nice to you, what good is that?
Mm-hmm.
You got to love your enemy, not just like in concept. Paul said, don't just pretend to love others, really love them. If they're hungry, give them food. If they're thirsty, give them something to drink. And if you're ready to go scream at your political opponent, you are failing at loving your enemy.
Mm-hmm.
If you, sneer at and grumble about your political opponent all the time, I don't care which side it is. You're failing at loving your enemy. Failing. Talk me off the ledge. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm not saying you can't disagree. I'm not saying you can't ideologically have a different position. But if we're supposed to dramatically love our enemy, I don't know that we can possess deep hatred for a political opponent. I just don't think we can do it.
One of my favorite examples was two now deceased Supreme Court justices, Antonin Scalia and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who were very far apart in their interpretations of the law and the rulings that they'd make.
You can't get further apart than those two.
Right. And yet they were very close, the closest among all of the justices at that time, where their families would get together. They would, have fun together outside of the court, and yet be so diametrically opposed within their rulings. But they each understood and respected the other's point of view and allowed them to have that point of view, even though they disagreed.
Yeah, I wish we had more of that modeled for us. And the whole chaos thing, I don't get it. Correct me here. if we're supposed to display peace, love, joy, peace, let's take those three: love, joy, peace. That's what exudes from our hearts. How could I have that and chaos as a desire at the same time? Aren't peace and chaos opposing forces?
Last time I checked.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, so if I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know what would really be good for this country if we could just start over? Just, burn it all down.
Yeah.
Let it, not like maybe physically burn it all down. Just arrest all of Washington, change the Constitution. Let's just start all over.
Start all over, break everything down, and have no plans.
That's chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And that runs in opposition to the peace that we're supposed to display in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So I know somebody might be listening to this right now is mad at me. And it's like, that's okay. Just know that you're not following Jesus if you want to hang on to that. Talk again. Smack me,
we can
guys.
we can agree that maybe the things and the systems and how we're all treating each other right now is not the way it should be, but that doesn't mean that we also call for chaos. You can still be unhappy with how things are,
sure,
and not want chaos. Like actually want chaos.
Right. You need to reform the system, not throw away the system.
Because I think ultimately a gospel-centric American believes that it's not them that's the problem, it's me. Because I'm a desperate, broken sinner.
Right.
And I don't deserve salvation at all. And every day I have to remind myself that it's only Christ that makes me righteous, not me. And that creates in me the ability to display love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, because I've been given this gift I so desperately don't deserve, that I have to love my enemy because I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy the reality of hell.
Right.
And so I want them to receive this gift that I have. And if that's how that attitude's born out of. And again, if you're not in the midst of that and you don't want that, you might be Jesus adjacent. I borrowed that from Lauren because she's crunchy adjacent, right?
Yes.
You might be Jesus adjacent. You might be like, he seems like a cool guy, that Jesus. But you're not following him. And your life is not surrendered to him. And so I kind of, at that person, I kind of get annoyed. I'm like, why don't you get away from my Jesus? You're making him look bad. No one's throwing anything at me?
I think we forget, too, that there were zealots in Jesus' day that wanted to overthrow the Roman Empire and watch that all burn. And Jesus said, that's not what I came for.
Right.
And she dropped the mic. Don't worry, Alan. She didn't really drop the mic at all. Alan's our engineer. He would get mad if we actually dropped mics. Food for thought. Christians in chaos. We're not supposed to mix.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
That's how you end a song right there. See that?
Wow.
Bam! That was the late, great Mandisa. I got a little sad when I saw her name up there.
Mm-hmm.
But what a gift she was.
Yeah.
To Christian music.
Don't be sad that she's gone. Be happy that she was here.
There it is, Ron. And she's in a better place, man.
Yeah, amen.
She's with Jesus today, her deliverer. Okay, it is time for Ron's News and today's More Ron moment. And after that, buckle up. We've already had questions come in.
Baby girl's here.
I wasn't going to say it, but you did. Robert Fenn, he is a public affairs specialist with the Social Security Administration. You know, all those questions we all have about Social Security because it doesn't make any sense, basically. He's got all the answers. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's amazing. You could ask the question where you're thinking, he won't know it. And then not only does he know it, but he's got a funny anecdote to go with it.
I don't have questions because I don't even know what's happening. I can't even think about questions because it's so confusing.
You can't even sign up for the online thing.
Yeah, he did reach out to me for help, and I got so overwhelmed, haven't responded. Sorry about that, Rob.
But this is the time to call or text with your question about Social Security because Rob has the answer, and he joins us live after the news. 440-546-2255. 440-546-2255.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland. WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Miss USA is resigning from the title. It's 8:02. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Noelia Voigt announced on Instagram that she's making the decision to step back for her mental health. She won the title of Miss USA in 2023. In East Palestine, residents are invited to a forum to receive details of a proposed Norfolk Southern settlement. The rail company has agreed to compensate litigants in a class action lawsuit to the tune of $600 million for the February 2023 train derailment in the Columbiana County community. And Cedar Point has been named, no surprise, among the top theme parks in the country. According to the results of a new survey, the Sandusky Park has been voted to the number 10 spot on the 2024 USA Today 10 Best Reader's Choice Survey in the category of Best U.S. Theme Park. I'll be right back with sports and weather.
If you've been thinking about a career in aviation, consider a Bachelor of Science degree in Missionary Aviation Technology from Moody Bible Institute. Flight majors earn an average of 325 flight hours, including over 100 hours of flight experience in high-performance aircraft. You'll be fully trained to get your private, instrument, and commercial pilot certification immediately after graduation. And you'll have a foundation in Bible and avionics technical training. Visit moody.edu/aviation. That's moody.edu/aviation.
In sports, the Guardians edged the Tigers 2-1. The Pirates clipped the Angels 4-1. And the Cavaliers open their Eastern Conference semifinal series against the Celtics tonight. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Partly sunny, a chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. High temperatures in the upper 70s. At last check, cloudy skies, 58 degrees in Cleveland. Akron and Canton, cloudy and 57. And in Youngstown, skies are clear and it's 57 degrees.
It's time for your Moron Moment.
Have you ever seen something advertised as chocolatey? The term chocolatey on products often signals that it doesn't meet the standards to be labeled as true chocolate. This phrasing cleverly implies a chocolate-like flavor without enough real chocolate content. Food labeling laws dictate that when a product can be called chocolate or not, and chocolatey gets used when the cocoa content falls short of that standard. It's a marketing workaround offering a chocolate-like experience while skirting the stricter standards of chocolate labeling. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 8:05 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Do you ever wonder why success can feel empty? Why is more money still never enough? Or why relationships can be so hard? Try something different today. On your way to work, turn on your radio and join our conversations about life's deeper questions. And don't worry, we drop the pretense and don't take ourselves too seriously. But like you, we're looking for transformation in life.
When you allow someone to fully know you and still love you.
Join us for Mornings with Brian, weekdays starting at 6 a.m. on 103.3 FM.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
It's 8:09, and the man has arrived. He is a legend. He's not a myth. He's real. He's with us today.
Mm-hmm.
He's a public affairs specialist with the Social Security Administration. He can answer any question you've got. Robert Fenn, welcome back.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
By the way, congratulations are in order, I believe. I think I saw online that your daughter graduated college. Is that correct?
Yes, my daughter Kendall graduated with her master's, where she had her undergrad at Ohio State and her master's in kinesiology at Ohio State University this past Sunday. So, yahoo! Yeah,
Whoa.
get out the house. No, I'm just playing.
That's a smart kid. Look out. Is that your youngest or your oldest?
That's my youngest,
Your youngest has a master's degree. How does that feel?
Just like it's part of life. So be it.
Yeah, you are that guy, aren't you? You're not as like angsty as I am, are you?
No, I mean in terms of them growing up. Is that what you mean by?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, because this is the time where I think, if you recall, so when you and I went out to eat and you had made a comment to me and you said, "Oh, well, it's different when they get older. It's not as hard." I'm like,
Yeah, I was wrong about that, Rob. I was wrong about that.
yeah, but you know, now it's the time that it's on them. You know, you pour it into them. You know what the expectation in terms of godly values. You know what the expectation is in terms of represent the family, and the rest is really is up to them. So again, I'm just proud of them. You know, my oldest, she's a zookeeper in Columbus Zoo, and so they're going on doing their things. And so, hey, life is good. I won't complain.
A zookeeper? How cool is that? Can we go play with monkeys or something if we go over there? Because we know you?
Well, this is how it works. She actually, and I'll give you a quick little short story. When she first started, and this is a testimony, I thank God for that. She actually, my oldest daughter, the pandemic had took place, and she was trying to get a job and what have you. So she ended up doing temporary assignments at the Columbus Zoo. So she's there. You know, she's taking ponies around and stuff like that. And then now she moved up to camels and taking them. And then so fast forward, she get an opportunity to work in Palm Beach, Florida. We're like, oh, you're going to work down there at the zoo? And now Palm Beach, Florida Zoo is smaller than Akron, but it's, you know, up and coming, what have you. And I said, but it's got to be expensive down there. Milk has to be like $5 a gallon, you know. So she said, oh, I have to decide. Long story short, Columbus Zoo offered her a position, and so she called us. She said, Mom, Dad, guess what? I got an opportunity to work here at Columbus Zoo. I said, great. And of course, Mom liked that because then she'll be closer to home. She said, I'll be working with pink flamingos. Like, oh, yeah. Penguins, oh, yeah. And venomous animals. Oh. Rewind that?
Venomous animals.
Yeah. And so she had her first day, she worked with Komodo dragons.
Oh.
So, well, my point is, yeah, Brandon, you can come on down, no problem. But you'll be seeing boa constrictors or pythons and poisonous frogs and those types of things. She loved it. I don't know where that came from. We didn't even have a dog.
But nonetheless, there she is. Well, that's so cool. Yeah, I'll skip that then. I don't need to hang out with poisonous things. All right. Rob Fenn is here to answer your Social Security questions. 440-546-2255. We got a handful already come in here by text.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Great.
If you're separated from your husband, can you still collect from his Social Security? Not divorced, just separated.
Ooh, we're going to get a little sticky. All right. All right. So if the individual is referring to Social Security retirement benefits, and they were already receiving the benefit, let's say as a spouse, and then unfortunately, we're going to pray that things work out, but the individuals separate, they're still eligible for that payment. If the couple is receiving an SSI, which stands for Supplemental Security Income Benefit, and one of them moves out of the household, that may change the amount of the payment. So it all depends on what type of payment they're receiving that will determine how that Social Security check would possibly be affected. But if the person, again, is referring to retirement or benefits, no, a separation is not. And then I'll go a little further. If it's a divorce, if that were to take place, then Social Security will have to look to see, okay, are there any children in the household? Are you receiving a benefit because of someone else's work or your own work? So we have to find out what's taking place. In many cases, though, the answer to the question, the separation, no, does not affect the Social Security payment. Never had that question asked before, separation.
There you go. First time for everything. It's 8:15. Time for a quick break. Rob Fenn with us from the Social Security Administration. He's ready to answer your Social Security questions by call or text. 440-546-2255.
God's Word says a lot about music. From creation to the book of Revelation, you'll find songs, lyrics, songwriters, voices, and instruments. This month, join Today in the Word and our author Brian Lee for a devotional titled, Sing to the Lord, Music in the Bible. To get it, download the free app or go to todayintheword.com. todayintheword.com.
This episode of Car Seat Questions, we sit and learn from our special guest, Kim Erickson, how to teach our kids to trust God amidst our sorrow.
Tune in for this episode and all new episodes of Car Seat Questions on YouTube and every podcast platform.
Classics. They're priceless. At moodyaudio.com, you'll find classics of a different kind, like Radio School of the Bible and Conference Echoes, plus Bible teaching from names like David Platt, A.W. Tozer, and Francis Schaeffer. There's Talking It Over with George Sweeting, plus stories of great Christians. Stream live or download the MP3s at no cost. Check out the archives page next time you visit moodyaudio.com. That's moodyaudio.com.
Are you looking for candid conversation from a biblical perspective? You found it. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
.820, Rob Fenn is with us here on Mornings with Brian on WCRF. He's with the Social Security Administration. He's ready to answer your questions. There's a flood, Rob. Are you ready? You got your waders on?
Yeah, there's a flood?
Of calls, Rob. I was being figurative, you know.
I just had to say, hey, before we get to the question, I got to make sure I say, you as a group, man, you guys, you ladies look phenomenal. I saw the pictures at the gala. You were talking about looking at the pictures. And I have to Make sure I have a picture where I was at Pastor Neville's church, and I'm wearing a gray suit with the orange colored tie. I said, "There's my twin." I said, "Brian, look at him showing his swag." I saw you, Brian. I saw you, Brian.
Yeah, you couldn't miss it, bro. You were shocked. I clean up okay when I actually put effort into it, you know?
No, you're actually a very good-looking guy. You're actually a good-looking guy. So I wasn't surprised at that, but I saw you take it to another level. I said, "Go ahead, Brian."
Ron, could you mark that down?
I did. Yes,
okay,
I did.
Good. Yeah, thanks, Rob. I was looking for a good soundbite. That was another one. You're so nice, Rob. We're tied for the most handsome. Okay,
Rob
you
is
too.
baby girl.
Rob is baby girl. Oh, no.
I heard that the second time. I said, "Not my Daria. They got her on me too." Okay.
All right, let's jump to Mary in Akron. Hey, Mary, what's your question for Rob Fenn?
Yes, my husband's going to be 70. He's still working. I'm 63, and I have worked enough to collect Social Security, but very little. I have more zeros than I have numbers. So what I'm wanting to know is, once he collects, can I collect off of his and use these simple numbers?
Yes.
If his 70, if he collects $2,000 at 70, and I'm just using simple numbers, and mine's only going to be 500. Hold on one. Have a good day. My grandson's bus just went by, and all the kids
cute.
waved to me.
Oh, that's so cute. I'm glad you waved.
Priorities.
Hey, amen, sister. Amen.
Okay, so if he collects 2,000 and mine would only be 500, half of his would be 1,000. Could I get the 1,000? I guess is what I'm asking. At 63, will I ever be able to get that 1,000?
Got you. And I love the question. Now, this is just part of my, I like to feel this way. I don't know if it's good, sometimes it's bad, the analytical part. I love her voice and fluctuations. At the very beginning, she's like, "He's still working," you know. I love that. And then she says, "Can I?" In my mind, I can visually, even though I've never met you, ma'am, I can see her pulling her shoulders down just a little bit. Can I get a little something off of his? So to answer your question, and I love how you put it together. You said some zeros. I have zeros. There's some numbers. I totally get that. And then to the rest of the listening audience, what she's saying is there's some years that I don't have recorded. I may not have paid into Social Security those years, but I did work some, so I know I'm eligible for something. Then I love how you worded the question. You said, "Well, his is 2,000. You know something about the half, so that's why you gave me the $1,000 amount. Thank you." And then you also mentioned less than, so you gave me the $500 mark. So I appreciate that. The Guardians would need you because that was a great pitch. I thank you for that. So you are correct that if your husband waits to age 70 to start his benefit, that's okay. Now, if you decide, since you're over the age, if you're over the age of 62, you can file for your Social Security benefit. Now, here's the thing. The way you worded it, you said, "Can I get that $1,000? That means you want to know, can I get the half amount? In order to get the half amount, you would have to be your full retirement age. So you would have to be, if your full retirement age is 66 in so many months, you would have to be that age, or age 67, whatever your full retirement age is. Those are born between 1943 to 1954, full retirement age is 66. If you're born after 1954, the full retirement age increases by 2 months. 1955, 66 in 2 months. 1956, 66 in 4 months. All the way to those who were born in 1960 or later, full retirement age will be age 67. So if you decide to wait to your full retirement age, you're eligible for a half. However, and only for you to receive a benefit on his record, he has to be receiving a payment. So now let's put some flesh onto the bones here so that way you can see how it works out. If you could contact Social Security today, we would only pay you what you're due on your own record. We couldn't pay you on his because he's not receiving anything yet. So you could start on your own, and then when he files, for example, you said age 70,
we can look to see if you're due an increase from his record. It doesn't lower his check, but we can possibly give you that increase. So your decision could be contact Social Security, 1-800-772-1213, 1-800-772-1213. You can set up an appointment to see if you're eligible for benefits on your own. You would also go to our website, socialsecurity.gov, G-O-V. Look at the word benefits at the top of the screen. Click that. It'll lead you to retirement and spousal benefits. You can get the information there. And you can start your application on your own. And like I said, later on, you can switch. Now, some people decide not to file on their own because they don't want to get a reduction. So that's the part that you and your spouse are going to discuss to see, does it make sense to go ahead and start and get a smaller check on your own? And then maybe to get a bump in your increase when he files. And I'll wrap this part of it up just to make sure I say this. Keep in mind, if your husband files at his age of 70, when he files at age 70, he's going to get what we call delayed retirement credits. His Social Security check is going to increase around 8% every year after his full retirement age. That 8% does not go to you as a spouse. You're going to get the dollar amount based upon his full retirement age of 67 or whatever his full retirement age is. So some people kind of mix up the math when they contact us. They say, hey, this is his check at age 70. It's $2,000. Aren't I getting that? No, it's the dollar amount at his full retirement age that a spouse gets. A widow gets the delayed retirement credit. So just make sure, be mindful. And that's a lot, but it was a good question. I just wanted to make sure you gave me a question that well-educated. I felt obligated to give you a well-educated response. So thank you.
Thanks, Rob. All right, we'll jump to the next call. We've got Audrey in Cleveland. Audrey, what's your question for Rob Fenn from the Social Security Administration?
Good morning. Thank you. My question revolves around the WEP, the windfall elimination provision. And I kind of wanted to know, like, the history behind that and, why is that a law that if I have a pension from, say, OPERS, and that so when I retire, soon I'll be full retirement age in September. Why is that? Thank you.
Thank you for calling in. Thank you for your question there. And for everyone else who's listening, what she's saying is, I understand that there's a law that may affect my Social Security benefits. And she gave the law, windfall elimination provision. She gave the fact that she knows where this is coming from in terms of that she's paying into a system, Ohio Public Employees Retirement System, that she named it. And she's saying, I know that because I get this pension, somehow it's going to affect my Social Security benefit. And so her question is, why? Because we all want more money. And so she's saying, I don't like that. Well, she didn't say it that way. I got my hand on my hip. I don't know if she had her hand on her hip or not. But she's saying, why does this have to take place? And I like the question, and let me make sure I explain to everyone, because many times people, and Brian and the crew, you guys were talking about, and ladies were talking about, how people would we get into these silos and we get upset and you're like, okay, well, if they would just do this, everything would be fine. Kind of in that vein, many times it's because we don't know. And when we don't know something, it tends to frustrate us. So the point is, I'm glad she asked the question so that way we can be better educated. Why did this come about? Well, what people may not know is that Social Security benefits are actually weighted. If you notice, the prior caller mentioned something about zeros and numbers, and we're talking about looking at a person's work history and seeing those zero numbers on their Social Security earnings record. So Social Security uses the top 35 years over a person's lifetime. And when we figure out their Social Security benefit, when we see zeros on someone's record, we weight their benefit to give them a little bit of a higher replacement of their Social Security earnings when they used to work. So we're trying to keep them a little bit closer to when they were working to getting around that amount. So those who have a lower replacement value, they may get their Social Security check may replace around 60%, of what they used to take home each month, versus someone who has a higher income, their Social Security check may be giving them around 30-some% of what they used to make each month. So when someone pays into a non-covered pension, such as Ohio Public Retirement System, our system will pick up all those 0 years. And our computer will then say, well, if they have a bunch of zeros in their work history, they must have not worked as much into Social Security, so let's give them a higher replacement rate and give them that 60% amount. When reality, the years that they paid outside of Social Security were being paid into a non-covered pension, Ohio Public Employees Retirement System. So they do have retirement benefits coming to them. They do have something that they can use as part of their retirement nest egg. And so that's where it came from, because the laws back in 1983-84, they were saying if this individual was to receive a Social Security check at the full amount, that full replacement value, and their OPRS payment, those payments will be even more than what they even receive each month. And so the key is not to overdo that. That's the way that they're looking at it. Now, again, my job is to help you understand, not to make you agree to what I said. You can look this information up on our website, socialsecurity.gov, G-O-V, type in the word windfall. Of course, the first thing that you will see is a link about the law itself, but you can dig deeper, get yourself a cup of coffee, and sit back. And there are other history background documentation that you can read on that. So hopefully that gave you a better understanding as in terms of why this came about.
Now, at risk of oversimplifying, wouldn't it be similar to me asking, as someone who pays into Social Security, why can't I get a pension from OPRS? And the answer is, you didn't pay into it because you didn't work for a place that pays into it. I mean, isn't that pretty similar?
It is, but more people who are listening to you and I, Brian, the first thing, as soon as they heard you say that, they would go, no, I paid into both, and I want to get all my money. That's my disgruntled voice. No. And so many people, because most of us here in the United States, we have gotten our first jobs in Social Security, working at fast food chain or whatever it may be. And so then time comes along, you become an adult and you get your first job and you find out that you want to work for the state, the police and fire, or you're a teacher or those types of things. That's where your passion is, or at least that's the job you decided to take. And so those individuals just want to know, hey, I'm paying into it, and now they hear that my Social Security, because most of us have only focused on Social Security as our retirement planning. You've heard it all your life. And so now you hear that it's being reduced, and you're like, wait a minute, why? I paid into it. But they don't understand. Most people, they just haven't, been able to take the time to call into a great radio show, The Brian Show, and then be able to have the opportunity to understand why it came about versus just thinking lower in our minds, lower means less means bad. But in reality, it's how is the system set up, and that's to make sure that our seniors and our elderly stay above that poverty level. So when you have a better grasp of it, you have a better understanding to decide how do I want to manage my retirement benefits and funding in my nest egg. So, but thank you, Brian. You got it. You're close. You're close.
I'm close. That's the story of my life, brother. All right, 8:34, time for a quick break. We'll get more with Rob Fenn here on WCRF, Mornings with Brian. He's a public affairs specialist with the Social Security Administration, and he's going to answer any questions you have. What?
Twin.
He's my twin. He's my twin. If we were next to each other, you'd be like,
if you're on the
I can't tell
live
the
stream,
difference.
you can see it because his picture's
Is
up.
he over here or over here?
Yeah, he's right there. You got
here?
it the first time. Yep, there
Look
he is.
at us. It's like we're the same person.
Yeah.
Text live to 440-546-2255. You could also send in your questions by text or call 440-546-2255.
When King Saul wanted to hear music from the lyre, he simply asked his servants to, quote, find someone who plays well. But he got more than that. From Moody Bible Institute, this is Today in the Word. I'm Donna Leland. Jesse's son David knew how to play the lyre, but he was also a brave man and a warrior. While skill and abilities are important in any position, the final attribute that this wise, nameless servant lists is separated and stands apart from the others. Scripture says, "The Lord is with him." That's a phrase you will probably not find on any resume or LinkedIn bio. Nevertheless, what qualification for a job, especially for a position in ministry, is more important than this one? David himself knew this, for this future king writes later in Psalm 16. Today in the Word, we read David's testimony in verse 2. "You are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing." The contrast in 1 Samuel between David and Saul is striking. It's simply the difference between someone who fears the Lord and walks in his presence from the one who doesn't. No matter what our calling is, may our lives reflect the qualifications of David and the likeness of the Son of David, Jesus, our Lord and King. What about you? Would the qualification, "The Lord is with him," appear on your list of qualifications? 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 4 through 6 says, "It's not that we think we're qualified to do anything on our own. Our qualification comes from God. He has enabled us to be ministers of his new covenant. This is a covenant, not of written laws, but of the Spirit."
God is for me. It's the most important message to plant in your child's heart. We encourage our kids to learn algebra, science, athletics, all noble and good things. But most important, they should know what is true about God, what He has done and is doing for them. God is for Us is a new kids' Bible study from Romans 8, one of the most beloved chapters of the Bible.
Order your copy of God is For Us at moodybooks.org.
Join the conversation by call or text at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
8:37 with us now, my twin. We're basically indistinguishable human beings in many ways. He's here. He's Rob Fenn from the Social Security Administration, ready to answer your Social Security questions. 440-546-2255. You ready for more, Rob?
Let's do it, Brent.
I worked as a substitute teacher part-time for about 10 years. I had $10,000 built up in retirement, which was never matched by STRS. When I stopped working there, I took that money out. I was 55 when I took it out and paid taxes on it. Will that affect my Social Security?
Wow, that was great. Lauren, is that you?
Yes, hello.
Okay. Hello, Lauren.
She's great, isn't she?
She is great. She's great. Her voice sounded just a little bit different. I didn't know if it was my phone or just her voice itself. So
It's not Shaq
just wanted to
today?
say hello. What's that?
It's not Shaq today.
No, it's not Shaq today. And I need to make sure I'm clear when I meant your voice of Shaq. What I meant is the cadence, not the masculinity of that.
No,
'Cause
that's
I think
okay.
you have a great voice. I just laugh at how when you and Brian interact, your yeses are your yeses and your no's are your no's. You know, so when Brian asks a question, you go, no.
Pretty
No?
sure that's biblical.
Yeah, it
I'm
sounds
just
like-
being biblical,
Yes,
just like
yes.
Shaq.
Just like Shaq. Well, you might be surprised to hear that, but but yes, that's great. Either way, it's your cadence. Now, to answer your question, in terms of someone saying, and again, these are great questions. I like how they're wording it. I can tell that people are doing their homework, and this person said that they took their contributions, not what the state gave to them. And so if the individual is working at a non-covered employer, when I say non-covered, meaning that employer did not pay any Social Security taxes, and the individual says, for whatever reason, they're going to just take their contributions and not what the employer, non-covered employer, gave to them, then Social Security, there is not a windfall elimination provision or the government pension offset is what they're referring to. And they said they paid taxes on that. If they paid taxes and they paid the FICA tax onto that, everything is the same. Everything's okay, no issue at all, since they received, again, their contributions only. So great question. Thank you for whoever sent that in.
440-546-2255. Take it away, Shaquille.
I'm turning 60 next month, and for the last 6 years, I've been fighting with my back, going in and out and making it unable to provide for my family. It's been depressing for me, but I don't feel like I want to take disability, but I feel like I need to. What should I do?
Oh, my goodness. This question, now, again, remember, for the rest of those who are listening, I don't know the individuals who are sending in the questions or what have you, but the way that they word it, is a very common theme. You know how we all feel when things don't go the way we're hoping they would go in terms of life, and you feel isolated. There are so many people that I come across who are dealing with and thinking the same thing, meaning that they have been working so hard all their lives, and then unfortunately in this case here, the health changes, and this, I believe I heard the back is the injury or the disabling condition. And now I'm going to sound unpolitically correct. Don't get afraid, Ron. But when I say this, but sometimes people will. It's generally the man who says, "Well, I provide for my family, and now that I'm not able to work, I'm feeling less than a contributor. And if I file for Social Security disability, that makes me, one, not able to contribute as much as I would like to my family, but also somehow I'm less than." Well, that is not biblical to me at all, to hear that I am not able to. God has called us to be so much more and equipped us with so much more than the income that we bring. So let me make sure I put that out there.
That's right.
With that being said, yes, an individual can apply for Social Security disability payments if they believe that their condition, whatever it may be, in this case here we mentioned was the back, if that condition stops them from being able to work for over a year. If they believe the condition can last a year. Doesn't mean they have to be off of work for a year, is if the condition could last a year. And the person mentioned age 60. They know that age 62 is the earliest age you can file for Social Security retirement benefits. But if the person files at age 60, I want to make sure the listening audience is aware of this, that if a person receives a Social Security disability payment prior to their full retirement age, so let's say this individual full retirement age is 67, but they file at age 60 and they're approved for Social Security disability, that Social Security disability payment age 60 is if the amount as if they were 67. So they're just getting it sooner because they weren't able to work up to that age. My encouragement to this individual, we're all going to pray for you and you're your best in terms of health. But please know that, yes, you can turn to Social Security. You can file for those benefits. You can go to our website, socialsecurity.gov. The word disability is at the top of the page there. The word benefits, you can click it. You can go through the Social Security disability application. Now, please be mindful. It's going to ask you questions about when did you work last, when did you become disabled, what type of medications are you taking, and let me make sure I just give this little sidebar on that. People get caught up in thinking, well, I don't remember my exact last day of work. Was it May 5th, whatever. If you can at least give us information as the fall of 2024, March of, the spring of 2023, something like that, that helps the application process. We can't, put we don't know for everything. We want you to give us the best information that you can to give you the best result possible. So go to socialsecurity.gov or 1-800-772-1213. Again, I encourage the website because if you go that, you know exactly what's on your claim. Go to socialsecurity.gov. You can put all the information in there, hit the enter button. Someone will contact you to complete the application if there's anything else more that's needed, and we can guide you from there. So prayers to that person.
Is it safe to assume you need some sort of physician verification for this type of thing?
Thank you for asking that. Man, Brian, this guy, Brian, something else.
I'm your twin, bro. We think alike. It's fine. I got your back.
Yes. Now, we do require, there's a form, a medical form that we're going to, 827, SSA 827, we're going to ask that you sign electronically so that way we can contact your doctors. Too many people think, though, that it's the doctor themselves only that's making the decision. Well, my doctor didn't say I'm disabled, so I can't apply. Or my doctor did say I was disabled, so I have to apply. Or that it's important. Doctor's information is very important. We need that information. We seek that information. We will ask to get that information. So, yes, we encourage individuals that if you're going to apply for Social Security disability, tell the doctor that Social Security is going to be sending them documentation. So, yes, we do want that information. But just as important, what people may not know, you, your loved ones, in this case here, let's say it's a spouse, they can write up their experience, their visuals on how they see this disabling condition affecting them. Oh. Maybe it's a father, and the mother, the wife, is writing a letter about her husband. He can no longer pick up the grandchildren. He can't hold them. They're only 5 years old, but it hurts his back to do that. He can't walk up the steps like he used to. He used to go bowling every single Wednesday, Thursday night, whenever bowlers go bowling. Sorry, bowlers. But that they're used to seeing that. And so now he can't do that. That's important. You can write that letter up. You can submit it with the claim. And that can be any of the relatives who are near them. So my point is, it's just as important for us to get all the information from the doctors as well as those who are the loved ones around them.
All righty, it's 8:47. We got another break here, and we come back to final segment with our friend Robert Fenn from the Social Security Administration. A few more minutes to get your Social Security question answered. Do so right now. Again, this is Mornings with Brian, WCRF, 440-546-2255.
Is rarely a good idea. That's true when it comes to thinking healthcare costs can't be affordable. Christian Healthcare Ministries has been helping believers meet their healthcare needs for over 40 years. It's not insurance, it's a ministry. Visiting chministries.org/Moody eliminates assumptions and shows how this unique model has worked to meet the healthcare needs of hundreds of thousands of Christians. Get more information and have your questions answered at chministries.org/Moody.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten.
Without Trinity support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838. That's 1-800-659-9838.
Bringing Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania closer to Christ, one conversation at a time. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
8:49, WCRF. Rob Fenn with us.
All right, did you get that on camera?
No, because I wait for the little keyboard slide to turn it back on, and I kind of have this rhythm, and you ruined it.
I didn't.
They're claiming I threw something at her.
Brian threw something at me. But you probably got him throwing it, didn't you?
I don't think I did. It happened after the keyboard slide. It didn't.
All right.
Happen.
It's not why we're here, guys.
You go sit over there. You go sit over there.
All right.
Next
Just
question.
like siblings.
Next question for Rob Fenn.
Okay, this is like a two-part. If they base your Social Security amount on average of best 35 years and you continue to work when you start drawing, will they readjust the amount that you get? Also, if it takes 3 months to start receiving the checks after you start the process, do they base the amount that you get? Brian.
You are four, Brian.
Let me finish this question. It's hard. Do they base the amount you get as the month you start or the month you actually start receiving 3 months later?
Okay, so let me do the first part and help me out if I forget the second part.
Yes.
But the first part basically means, hey, I started receiving my Social Security payments and I kept working. and I want to know, will my check increase because I'm working? And they mentioned the top 35, which is accurate. So the point is, if a person makes more money than the number amounts that we used to figure out the Social Security check, the answer is yes, it would increase. So let's say someone made $40,000 every year for 35 years. Then they retired. They started collecting a Social Security payment, and then they found another job, or they continued working at the same place, and they started making $45,000 each year. So yes, the $45,000 amount is going to bump out one of the $40,000 a year amounts. So that way it would increase. Conversely, they were making $40,000 every year for 35 years, retired, collected a Social Security payment. They decided to work part-time, or they took another job, and it's $20,000 a year. They're still going to see the FICA tax, Federal Insurance Contributions Act, and they're still going to see those taxes being taken out from their wages from work, the W-2, but it's not going to increase their Social Security check because it would lower the average amount that they made over those 35 years. So that's a big misconception for some individuals, thinking that, well, they're still taking the taxes out, so it's going to increase it. No, we don't want to lower your average amount. So if you make less after getting Social Security, it may not increase the Social Security check. If you make more, then it will increase. The second part of the question, can you say it to me again just to make sure?
Yeah. So would your amount be the amount it would be on the first, like on the month you start the process, or the amount 3 months after, since you don't get your first check until 3 months?
Yeah, so when you file for your Social Security benefits, and again, we're talking Social Security retirement payments, you're going to pick a month of entitlement that you would like to have those benefits. And the Social Security check is based upon all the months in which you delayed. And so if you are going to file in the month of May and you want your benefits for the month of June paid in July, because Social Security is the month behind, so June's check is paid in July. Even though several months have passed and going into July, we're paying you as of June. And so that's what your Social Security check is based upon, that month of entitlement. I'm not sure exactly where that person was going with that question. Hopefully that gives them a little insight. So even though you're waiting in that 3 months, please be mindful. The 3 months is for those who have not reached age 62. So if I am 62, you have to be 62 for the full month to be eligible for the payment. So if my birthday, let's say it's today, I turn 62 on May 7th, I have to be 62 for the whole month. So June will be the first month, which I have been 62 every day of the month. June's check will be paid in July. So if the person is asking this question, well, they're holding back 3 months, well, you weren't eligible until June to get that Social Security payment. If someone wants to file for their Social Security benefits after age 62, if they're filing after age 62, we're just going to give them that full calculation, whatever it may be, and start their payments the next month. Now, there are some cases, if someone retires, let's say on May 7th, you may be eligible for that check the same month if you meet the age requirement and the work requirements. I don't want the rest of the listening audience to think everybody has to wait 3 months or you got to wait a month. It all depends on your retirement age, if you've met that age, and your earnings at the time to determine when we can pay you. Some people, we've paid them the next week because they met that requirement. Some people, we may have to wait that full 3 months, as I gave that example. May 7th, June, paid in July. And some people, it may be a month or two down the road because that's when they pick their month of entitlement. So don't base your example upon what everyone else says. Contact us. Go to our website, socialsecurity.gov. We have a ton of calculators that you can use. Not a ton, literally, but multiple calculators that you can use. And you can see what your month of entitlement may be. And you can call our 1-800 number, 772-1213, 1-800-772. Let me use my Brian voice. You can use 1-800-772-1213. You can call, and then we can at least give you the background and the understanding of when those Social Security benefits will be started.
Okay, Rob. We have 7 questions and 4 minutes. You're very popular today.
I like a salad.
Okay. So we're going to go
Throw me
quick.
the dunk, Shaq.
My daughter is currently receiving Social Security due to a medical disability and is looking to get married. How will the marriage impact her benefits?
If she was receiving Social Security disability, it does not. If she's receiving SSI benefits, supplemental security income, then the spouse's wages, if they're working, could affect their payment. There's a level of it where it may not. So if it's SSI, it could affect it. SSD, it does not.
Okay. If I remarry after 62, can I still collect on my former husband's SSI while my current husband is alive?
No.
Oh, okay.
Look at you. Wow. That was a dunk.
I was a rep payee. My person passed away. Her Social Security was deposited onto a debit card. How do I return her money? She no longer needs it.
Which person passed away? The rep payee passed away?
No, the person that.
Oh.
The recipient.
The beneficiary passed away.
There you
so
go.
if the person is a representative payee, they're responsible to contact Social Security as well to let us know that the beneficiary passed away. If there's any monies deposited onto that Direct Express card or into that bank account, after we contact the bank, we will see what needs to be sent back to us. A person has to live the whole month to receive the payment the next month. So if they passed away on May 7th, then they're not eligible for the check in June. So that money could be returned. If there's any money that we need to send out, there's a form called a SSA 1372, I believe it is. We send that out to them. Don't quote me on that form. I got to remember that number again. But we can define out if the money needs to be sent back out. So contact Social Security, report the passing, and then we can decide if any monies are still due to a surviving person.
Okay. I paid into Social Security. I qualify for benefits, have worked for the state, but not in STRS. In a 401A plan, will roll into an IRA, will never collect pension payments from STRS, not in STRS. Will I be subject to WEP or not, since I'm not going to collect a pension? I do qualify for Social Security benefits, but want to know if they will be reduced. I keep getting conflicting answers.
Yes. So if the individual is saying that the job that they paid into, I'm making this real short and sweet for them. If that job collected Social Security taxes, they're okay. So if they're paying into a 401k, other type of an IRA, the money is going there. If there's Social Security taxes involved, the windfall elimination provision does not take place. Boom.
Oh, wow.
Look at you. You're a wild man. No wonder you're my brother. Seriously, we're twins. Check it out. Go to the live stream if you missed it. Text live to 440-546-2255. Again, Robert Fenn is a public affairs specialist for the Social Security Administration. He answers your questions. He entertains you. And he calls Lauren Shack, which is one of my favorite things about him. If you want to get more information or go sign up today for your Social Security Administration account, like I have one, and I'm very, very, very young. People think I'm 26, but I'm actually 45. Go to socialsecurity.gov, socialsecurity.gov. Does that sound right, Rob?
It's perfect. Go to our website. Please get the information. Become better educated about Social Security. And it makes it a lot easier for you to grasp these concepts. I know I was talking pretty fast and throwing it out there, and it takes time, but that's where it starts. Go to our website, socialsecurity.gov, to get a good footing and a better understanding and do something that Lauren didn't do. Ooh, burn.
Ooh. Oh, you mean Shaq? Shaq hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, waiting forever, apparently, Rob. Thanks for your time, brother. I always love hanging out with you.
Thank you for yours. Be blessed, everyone. Thank you all.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. Oh, my face?
Yeah, I've been waiting the whole show to
Brian is throwing
I don't know.
random. Are those paper plates?
Yes.
Quit throwing things
I
at
saw
Lauren.
him pulling them up, and I said, here we go. Also, no one noticed, but I was basically standing on my chair, waving my arms at Brian, and he just oblivious.
I was listening to our guest.
I don't think so.
Intently about the stirs and the web.
I think you were intently staring at yourself on the iPad.
I never do that.
Ew. Check the live stream.
I never do that.
Go to YouTube.
Every
March
second,
with Brian.
at least. I do it regularly. I still look good right now. But we got to leave. It's time to go. This has been another edition of Mornings with Brian. It's Tuesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday. It's how the calendar typically works. We'll see